commitment to reach carbon neutrality by 2050, designing, building, and inspiring for the world around us. Because when we wonder, the things our world needs could be just one breakthrough away. That's Dow.
Fall is for planting, and Maple Hill Nursery and Garden Center is making it the best time of year to grow. For a limited time, enjoy 40% off select trees, shrubs, and perennials. That's pretty much their entire plant inventory. So whether you're adding curb appeal, refreshing your garden, or planting for the future, they've got the quality, selection, and savings you've been waiting for. Don't miss the fall planting sale at Maple Hill Nursery and Garden Center, where your garden begins to grow. Maple Hill Nursery and Garden Center, growing with you this fall.
Hey Midland, join the Silver Sneakers and Renew Active programs at the Midland Community Center, where fitness for seniors is fun and free. With Silver Sneakers and Renew Active, seniors 65 and older enjoy access to Greater Midland Community Center, North Family Center, and Coleman Family Center, all at no extra cost with eligible Medicare Advantage plans. Dive into all group fitness classes, exclusive Silver Sneakers classes, and our Greater Midland Walking Club. Get moving with Silver Sneakers and Renew Active at the Midland Community Center.
Scrolling? Make it count. Want local sports content that actually matters?
Yeah.
100.9 The Mitt is loaded with local highlights, viral plays, breaking sports news, and takes you can't get enough of.
It's hot!
Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube today, and you'll never be out of the loop on the Lions, Tigers, Pistons, Red Wings, Michigan State, and even the biggest stories in high school sports in the Great Lakes Bay region. 100.9 The Mitt, Mid-Michigan's sports leader. You want sports takes? You want local voices that own the mic?
Yeah.
We've got them on Sports Radio 100.9 The Mitt. It kicks off at 6 a.m. with Anthony Bellino on Spin on Sports.
Rise and shine.
From 9 to noon, don't miss Michigan's newest sports show, The Ben Bosscher Show.
Hey, remember that.
At noon, you get America's smartest sports takes, The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
I want Shador to play.
And at 3, the one and only Bill Simonson and The Huge Show. This is where real fans stay locked in. 100.9 The Mitt.
Attention high school sports fans, are you an armchair official? You know, the parent or fan who constantly yells at the referees and loves to let everyone know just how bad you think they are. Well, if you think you could do better, then get in the game and prove it. It's time for you to suit up and make the calls where they actually count. Every sport in Michigan needs more officials. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
From the Blazy Electric Studios, this is Sports Radio 100.9 The Mitt, WLUN, Pinconning Bay City, Saginaw, Midland. Michigan sports aren't just a game, they're a way of life. And now we've got a show dedicated to die-hard sports fans like you. Hosted by a guy who's borderline obsessed with the wins and losses of all your favorite teams.
He's crazy.
Every weekday morning from 9 to noon, Ben Bosscher brings you the talk that matters. The teams, the stories, and the players you care about most. This is the Ben Bosscher Show, built by Bresky Siding and Building Repair.
Remember that.
Hello. Welcome into the Ben Bosscher Show. We've got a lot to get to today. It's game day. Lions versus Ravens. Monday Night Football. Tonight on ESPN, 8:20. We're going to get to the Lions. There's a lot to discuss heading into their Week 3 matchup against this Baltimore team that has looked like world beaters through 2 weeks. We're not going to deem it a must-win because I don't think it is. We'll get to that mostly in the 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock hour. But... and we'll react to Week 3 across the NFL as well. But, oh boy, fellas, ladies, it's worse than we possibly could have imagined with this Detroit Tigers team. I mean, 1 week ago today, I sat in this chair and told you they had a 98% chance to win the division. 98% chance. Those division odds have fallen drastically. 62% according to FanGraphs. That may as well be 50-50. because starting tomorrow, they've got a 3-game series with Cleveland, and who they just got swept by earlier this week, last week, I guess you could say. They get swept by the Braves this weekend, and it has just been awful baseball being played in Comerica Park for the last week. Now, they're not in Comerica Park anymore. They leave home on a 6-game losing streak, the entire homestand, just a whole bunch of L's. They have lost 9 of their past 10 games. They're on the verge of making history. The Tigers are on the verge of making the wrong kind of history, though. If the Tigers are to blow this division, they would have the biggest blown division lead in MLB history, passing the 1951 Dodgers, who blew a 13.5 game lead in their division. The Tigers this season were up 15.5 games in July. They've lost 9 of their last 10. And if they lose this series to Cleveland, not only are they at risk of not winning the division, they're at risk of not even making the playoffs. The Tigers play Boston to close the season. 3 games with Cleveland, 3 games with Boston. Boston right now is a wild card team. The Guardians play 3 games against the Tigers, and then they play the Rangers, who are 5 games out of a wild card spot by now, or right now, and by then have might have punt on the season. Over the past 10 games, it's been nothing but a disaster. 2.5 runs per game. 161 average with runners in scoring position. Those Tigers All-Stars from earlier this year, the ones on offense, Riley Green, Zach McKinstry, Javier Baez, they've been awful. And A.J. Hinch has recognized the problem that is going on, which is why Tarek Skubal is now pitching tomorrow. Because every game from this point forward is a must-win in order to stop the bleeding. But the unfortunate part about the Tarek Skubal start tomorrow is I can't even sit here and tell our audience that it's a guaranteed win. Because in Tarek Skubal's last 12 outings, the Tigers are just 7-5. It felt like for the longest time that was an automatic win. That's not the case anymore because this offense has disappeared, fallen asleep, and is nowhere to be found right now. This is a lifeless baseball team that thought way too highly of themselves in the middle of the season. And I'm talking about the players, talking about potentially the coaching staffs, and I'm certainly talking about the man, the puppet master, Scott Harris, who looked at this team and said, we're going to be here every year from this point going forward. Sustained success. We're going to be at the top of the AL Central every year forever. Are you even going to be at the top of the AL Central when this year ends? 50-50 right now. Fangraph says 62. They've got a 1-lead game in the division right now. They've got 3 straight games versus Cleveland. Tarek Skubal on the mound tomorrow to start that off. It was one of the worst 6-game stretches the Tigers have played all season long. And that's saying something because of how much of a disaster it was fresh out of the All-Star break as well. So the second half of the season, they started just awfully. 1-8 stretch. And now they're 1-9 to close out the second half of the season. Kyle, yesterday, the Tigers play at 1. NFL Sunday starts at 1. And I'm just debating in my head internally. I'm like, I don't even want to watch this Tigers team because of how bad they have played for a whole week. All right, the division is falling apart. It's falling out of your hands. And how do you respond? Just with bad baseball over and over again. Every single person, other than maybe Spencer Torkelson, is to blame here a little bit for this. It's been one of the worst acts of baseball that a Tigers fan could possibly remember, that a baseball fan could remember. This isn't even just the Tigers thing. They're on the verge of blowing the biggest lead in MLB history for a team that had such a large division lead earlier on this summer.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't even debating, right? I mean, I get a stress-free day of football with no Lions playing, so I actually just get to sit there and enjoy. Instead, I get to watch a Tigers team that clearly is just we knew it was going to happen, right? I mean, it was very inevitable. This offense just is unable to supply any runs to the starters, no matter how good the starters are. And obviously, it's not like the starters were great all weekend either. But, yeah, to me, it was just I mean, I was wrong. We were wrong. I did not think this was humanly possible for them to get into this spot, but they have
they have officially imploded. As far as even we've thrown out
throw that out the window.
Oh, the bye is gone.
You've thrown out even like the chance of like, should we still win the division? It's like the playoff stuff that I thought was not even a concern. Like they'll still get into the playoffs. That is now the number one priority at this point. Obviously, you got to beat Cleveland because that plays into both things if they're making the division, making the playoffs. But if this truly does happen, I mean, I don't even care about playoff matchups anymore. I don't care about any of that stuff. Is the season a failure? Is it not? Just worrying about getting into the playoffs is something that you would never have imagined having to worry about even 2 weeks ago. And now it's all of a sudden a concern. I mean, think about 2 weeks ago when we were talking about the Yankees series, man. Like
we were having fun. We were clowning John. We were saying your team stinks. We're going to beat your team in the playoffs.
They were 2 games back from still being the best team in the American League. They just beat the Yankees, and it was like, okay, that could be a good playoff matchup if they're up against them. And just like that, things have so changed.
Not only have things changed, but now, like, I think about it, what happens worst case scenario? What if this team misses out on the division? Hell, let's say they miss out on the playoffs because they actually can't win another game. What's going to actually change? Nothing. Nothing is going to change. Scott Harris is still going to be the GM. AJ Hinch is still going to be the manager. They're going to run this thing back with the exact same squad and keep all their same tendencies because what Scott Harris did at the deadline in free agency, it's all coming back to haunt the Tigers. And it's not even what he did. It's the arrogance of why are you questioning my methods? We have our guys. Well, the guys that you put out there, the guys that you've internally developed have been terrible over the past 10 games. Every facet of the game for 10 straight days has been the worst brand of baseball anyone could possibly put together. We thought that stretch that the Tigers went on to open up the second half of the season when it felt like they couldn't win a game, we thought that was a fluke. It turns out that was the Tigers showing who they really were, right? That team that we saw in the first half, I don't know what happened to them, but they're gone. That team is not showing up again. And if they do, I'll be happy to say I was wrong. I'll be the first one to put my hand up and say I was wrong, and I'll be glad to do it. I hope that team shows up. But there is no sign of life from this Detroit Tigers team, and there hasn't been for 10 straight days. When everyone, the fans, the org, the players for each other, have needed the Tigers the most this season, down the stretch with the season on the line, they have crumbled under pressure. Crumbled. It's not how I wanted to open Monday's show. Wanted to open Monday's show saying, hey, weird series against Cleveland. They bounced back. No matter what happens in this series, it feels like they're going to win the AL Central. We've got a Lions game tonight. Should have been an awesome Monday. Still can be an awesome Monday. But these Detroit Tigers, they needed a day off more than anybody. If you had a case of the Mondays, at least you're not the Detroit Tigers right now. 989-837-6125. Who is to blame for this Detroit Tigers implosion down the stretch of the season? We've got a lot of great candidates. We've got Scott Harris. If you want to throw out AJ Hinch, you can do that. The players come to mind. Hell, you can go all the way to the top in Chris Ilitch. Who do you blame for this Tigers losing streak? Again, it's 1-9 in their last 10 games. They've gone from a 98% chance to win the division to just a 62% chance in a matter of a week and a half. And that 62%, it may as well be 50-50 because you're playing Cleveland 3 times in the next 4 days, an off day today, and then you've got a 3-game series against them. You lose that first game, it's gone. You've lost the division. One game. You are 24 hours, I guess a little more because they play at 6:40 tomorrow. But you're 48 hours away from not being in first place in this division, which seemed inconceivable 10 days ago. And if you lose 2 of 3 to Cleveland and you end up a game out with 3 to go, I'd say odds are you're not winning the division. If you win the series, you win 2 of 3, I'd say you feel pretty good about not getting swept by Boston and you limp through the finish line and you barely beat your opponent. It's not a feel-good way to end the story, but at least you get to hang a banner, a pity banner at the end of the day. That sounds a whole lot better than I can't believe what we truly just saw. It's so ironic that what they did last year, the 0.2% chance to make the playoffs, the exact inverse is happening to them right now. It's sad. 989-837-6125. Who do you blame for the Tigers' implosion? We'll get to the Lions here a little bit later on in the show, but we have to tackle this problem first. 989-837-6125. We've got a YouTube chat going as well. You guys can like and subscribe there. Hey, YouTube kind of went crazy this weekend, so appreciate that. We're live on Facebook as well. Should be a fun show. Let's get things started with this Detroit Tigers team. One more time, it's 989-837-6125. The 9 o'clock hour, as always, is brought to you by Iron Stack Technology. Strong businesses need strong tech, and that's where Iron Stack Technologies comes in. Locally owned in Midland, they keep your IT rock solid, from cybersecurity to cloud services and everything in between. Think of them as like an invisible backbone to your business, something the Tigers don't have right now. No capes, just smarter solutions. Whether you're a small shop or a growing company, Iron Stack makes sure your tech doesn't crumble under pressure. Interesting. There's another group of people I can think of that are actually crumbling under pressure. Iron Stack Technologies, they don't do that, though. They're strong, steady, and built to keep you moving forward. It's the Ben Bosscher Show live on 100.9 The Mitt, YouTube, and Facebook.
The Ben Bosscher Show, built by Bresky Siding and Building Repair on 100.9 The Mitt.
I'm Sarah Stockford, host.
BALHS.org.
The Ben Bosscher Show, built by Bresky Siding and Building Repair on 100.9 The Mid.
Oh, these Detroit Tigers, 989-837-6125, actively making us age all a little bit faster. We will get to the Mint messages here in just a second, but let me tell you who I blame for this Detroit Tigers. Implosion. The Detroit Tigers are in the middle of one of the worst historical collapses in all of sports. It would be the worst blown division lead in the history of Major League Baseball. 15 and a half games they had a lead in the AL Central in July. Now they're staring down the barrel of not even making the playoffs potentially, depending on what happens over the next 6 games, the last 6 games of the season. So who is to blame for this implosion that the Tigers have been on? I have assessed this is going to be, not wishful thinking, but, it's going to be something that people don't want to hear because we've talked about it so long. I've assigned 40% of this blame to Scott Harris. And we can sit here and say, well, the players got to play better, and we'll get to the players in a second, so don't worry. But let's look at the players that Scott Harris brought in at the deadline to fix the starting rotation. They had some injuries with Reese Olson and Jackson Jobe going down. So who are the people that Scott Harris replaced them with? Charlie Morton, who has since been DFA'd after this weekend, has a 7.09 ERA with the Tigers, a 260 average, and 1.60 whip. Chris Paddock, 6.12 ERA. He's given up 12 home runs. It's a 236 opponent batting average and 1.17 whip. Then he got moved to the pen and has been even worse. 7.82 ERA, 1.42 whip. Both of those guys being added to the rotation, I think actually made the Tigers worse, Kyle. They hurt the Tigers more than they helped them out. They would have been better off just doing the bullpen days, pitching by chaos, and piecing it together throughout the rest of the season rather than letting those guys go out there and ruin starts. Ruin 2 of every 5 starts.
Yeah, I mean, they absolutely made the team worse. Like, there was zero help. I mean, yet Charlie Morton and Chris Paddock each had that early start where they were fine, and that was about it.
I hate to bring this up, but Justin Verlander, 3 starts this month, 0.45 ERA. Can even go back to the offseason. You know who'd help right now? I mean, Zach McKinstry over the last 10 days, who is an all-star, the 125 average. You know who might be better at third base? You know who might be a better option there? Alex Bregman, 278 average this season, 847 OPS would lead the team. Just saying. You had to let Boston outbid you. Had to do it. I've assessed 20% of the blame to Will Vest, who in September has an ERA that starts with 6. Go ahead and take a wild guess as to what his opponent batting average is this month.
Ooh. Is it north of 300?
Oh, yes.
350?
North.
400?
North.
No way.
It's not quite 500. It's 424.
Oh, my goodness.
Opponents are hitting 424 on Will Vest.
That's crazy.
To open up September. We're 22 days in.
Yeah, we're not opening up anything here. We're damn near through it.
20% of the blame goes to Riley Green. The Tigers are bad when Riley Green is bad. The Tigers are good when Riley Green is good. There's a very simple correlation between those two. Over the past 10 games, well, let's actually do it inverse. Riley Green is batting 131 over the past 10 games. The Tigers are 1-9. To open up the second half of the season, Riley Green was batting 156 over the first 9 games. The Tigers were 1-8. The Tigers go as far as Riley Green goes, and he has been the definition of a very unclutch player for the Tigers. I can't think of any big Riley Green moments off the top of my head where it's like, hey, Tigers were down, bases were loaded, or a couple guys in scoring position. Riley Green comes through huge in the 9th inning. There's just not a lot of those moments. And when the pressure is built for Riley Green, I'm not saying that he has, been a total disaster in these situations, but it does feel like, hey, when the Tigers really need Riley Green to come through, there's just not a lot of those moments. And, I mean, it's not just the single at-bats that I'm talking about. It's hey, this week, Tigers have a chance to clinch the division, get back to business, go into the playoffs on a hot streak. Riley Green disappears. We've seen this happen time and time again. I've got 15% of the blame assigned to both McKinstry and Javi Baez. Those guys were both all-stars in the first half of the season, and regressing back to the mean, the water leveling out, that would be a generous way to put it. They have sunken beneath the surface. Javi Baez 120 over the past 10 games when the Tigers have been losing. Zach McKinstry 125 average over the past 10 games when the Tigers have been losing. And then the last 5% of the blame, I just have to Chris Ilitch because I hate this guy. Because why not? Let's just throw a jab at Chris Ilitch because.
Just because.
Yeah, just because. That's just what we like to do.
That's fair.
That's what everybody. That one's for everybody. That one's for everybody. Where do you want to jump in? What sticks out?
I mean,
where's your blame going?
I feel like nearly all of the blame just has to go to the offense, right?
And Will Vest. I don't know how you can leave Will Vest out of this.
But, like, the Tigers have gone into these back end of the games with just no run support at all. So, yes, Will Vest does deserve some of the blame, for sure.
Tuesday night, last Tuesday, was Will Vest's fault. I mean, they go into extra innings, Kerry Carpenter ties it up, and Will Vest just says, offense, you don't even get a chance to get yourself back into this. I'm going to give up 4 runs right now before I can get an out.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. It's frustrating because this was a team that at least was doing the minimum that was always not the glaring hole of this team, but it was something that you always notice. Like, this offense still isn't great, right? Like, we knew at some point it was going to slow down, and it's had its stretches throughout the season. But and Saturday night, Will Vest's fault as well. You know, they go into the 8th inning, 5-3 lead, and then next thing you know, the game's over and they lose at giving up 1 run in the 8th, 2 in the 9th. So, to me, it's got to be nearly all the offense. And you mentioned it with Spencer Torkelson. He has done his part. He has really tried his best to keep this offense going. He's really been the only generator of offense over the last week or so.
He's got the best OPS on the team now. I think Riley Green's highs have been higher. Obviously, his lows have been lower. Spencer Torkelson's just been the best bat on the team throughout the course of the year.
Yeah, he's been doing it all year. Him and Gleyber Torres have really been kind of the consistent guys, and it's shown in the last week because Torres had a good weekend as well, but it just wasn't enough. So, I don't know. When you get solid starts out of Casey Mize and Jack Flaherty in both of these series, and you aren't able to, when they leave the game, have a lead, because that's something that we cannot guarantee is both of those two having good starts, you kind of know that things aren't going to end well, right? And that's what's happened.
It is one of the saddest things I think I've ever watched. You know, specifically talking about this Tigers team, obviously that World Series comes to mind. The series against Boston to keep the Tigers out of the World Series comes to mind. This might be worse than both of those things because at least, you know, you had some regular season success. You got to a big spot. Obviously, those were heartbreakers, but this is like forgetting how to walk. It feels like the Tigers were in a dead sprint all season long, then started walking, and then right when the finish line got in sight, they just collapsed to their hands and knees and started crawling to the finish line. Like, they're not even limping anymore. They're rolling, and they might not even get there. If Cleveland passes them, I think that'd be the biggest. It would be the biggest blown lead in MLB history. I think it'd be one of the darkest days in the history of the Detroit Tigers franchise. And I don't know how you can't, like, you didn't even bring up Scott Harris. How is this not a little bit on him? A lot of bit on him. I think it's more on him than anybody. Than, like, for not going after the correct guys at the deadline.
The team was good at the
thinking
deadline,
way too highly of these guys. Yeah, but for him to sit there and
the offense being terrible in the last 2 weeks is not Scott Harris's fault.
No, it's not Scott Harris's fault, but you can go all the way back to last offseason when he was like, we're just totally dead set on our guys. And then this year at the deadline.
Good.
And then this year at the deadline, it's
how could you have disagreed with that through the first half of the season?
Because you have to be able to recognize that Javi Baez is going to come back to earth. Zach McKinstry is going to come back to earth. Those guys totally overperformed in the first half of the season. And he never once was interested in, well, maybe he was interested in Geno Suarez, but just like everything else, he claims to be interested in this, and then he's too afraid to push his chips into the middle of the table. He hogs everything. Yeah, meanwhile, Kevin McGonigal's just doing nothing right now because he's not on the team.
Like, Kevin McGonigal was never getting called up. Like, that's just something that we got to stop bringing up.
Not in this organization, he wasn't. A different one would have.
Sure. I don't know how that changes things personally, but
you don't think any of this is his fault?
No, I just think that, like, continuously going back to the trade deadline in the offseason when the team has just stunk for 2 weeks straight, it is like I can't sit here and point fingers at Scott Harris for not trading for some all-star bat at the deadline when the team was good and the offense was good. Like it's not like they were in dire need of things at that time. Right now, it's easy to go back and look at that time, but we have to take ourselves back to that time as well.
Yeah, he also actively hurt the starting rotation, though. That's the part that I think we're forgetting here. Yes, the offense has disappeared, but how many of these losses have been Charlie Morton comes out and doesn't even give the offensive chance to come compete? Chris Paddock was bad enough there. He got sent to the pen, and he still sucks. He still's not good out of the pen. Those two guys made the roster hurt, and I'll give it to him. Kyle Finnegan, great addition. Even a Rafael Montero ended up being a halfway decent addition. Those two starters hurt the Tigers more than anyone else hurt the Tigers this season.
Agreed.
And that is a Scott Harris decision.
For sure.
989-837-6125. Let's get to what you guys think when we come back. Again, who do you blame for the Tigers absolutely imploding here down the stretch? 989-837-6125. We've got the YouTube chat as well. It's the Ben Bosscher Show live on 100.9 The Mitt. As always, brought to you by Bresky Siding and Building Repair. Protect your home with Bresky Siding and Building Repair. The experts who do the job right the first time. Whether you've got a leaky roof, there's a little bit of storm damage, the siding's looking a little tired, Bresky has you covered. Locally owned and trusted and dedicated to keeping Midland area homes safe and looking sharp. Quality materials, skilled craftsmanship, and service that puts your family first. Don't wait for the next storm. Call Bresky Siding and Building Repair today and keep your home strong for years to come.
The Ben Bosscher Show, built by Bresky Siding and Building Repair on 100.9 The Mitt.
We got a Lions game later today. Very excited about that one. Let's stick with the Tigers for now, though, because you guys got a lot to say. 989-837-6125. Let's kick things off with Jeremy. Jeremy says, honestly, not a bad breakdown of blame overall, but to place 0% of the blame on Hinch is crazy. You know, I've never been a big it's Hinch's fault guy, but over the past 10 days, there's been some post-game locker room quotes and press conference quotes where it's just like, are you going to get these guys rallied and ready to go or not? I don't think it's X's and O's decisions that are costing the Tigers. That hasn't changed. Like, he's the reason they were winning games early. Last year with the X's and O's, he's the reason they got through the playoffs with the pitching chaos. None of the X's and O's and the strategic aspect of it has changed. But when he says stuff like, yeah, it's hard to put into words what's happening right now after the game, like, well, you better find a way to put it into words and get your guys ready to go because your guys are falling flat on their face right now. So I think Jeremy might be right. I think a little bit of this needs to be Hinch's fault.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like some of it has to be. It's kind of hard to not put any of the blame on the guy who's managing the games, and they've been losing a ton of them. So I think that's fair. I also think that there's been a little bit of maybe too much, not all Tigers fans, but I've seen some Tigers fans going at Hinch pretty hard, like a fire AJ Hinch kind of thing.
Whoa, who's saying that?
I've seen a good amount of it on Twitter, which obviously I disagree with personally. I think that if you are to blame everyone, I think he's probably the least to blame. But like you said, I haven't liked a lot of the post-game stuff. It seems very lack of urgency.
Yeah, there's no pressure on us, don't worry.
Yeah, that's a little bit like, okay, at some point here we got to kind of recognize the situation, which maybe he is internally and just isn't, putting that out into the media.
Well, all the Cleveland series, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday last week, it was just like, yeah, there's no pressure on us. Like, we're a playoff team. We're going to wake up tomorrow. We're going to be a playoff team. It's like, okay, now do you think that?
Yeah.
Like, because tomorrow you might wake up. Yeah, you're going to wake up a playoff team tomorrow, but how about the next day? That's not guaranteed anymore.
What a terrible day but just way for the Tigers to end their home regular season.
Oh, I know.
6 straight games at home to end the year. Well, that's how they end their home schedule. Win none of them.
Hey, it's Fan Appreciation Day at the ballpark.
Yeah.
To celebrate all our fans, we're going to fall flat on our face. But you can run the bases after today's game. Yeah, another one from Eric. Let's not forget AJ having Sweeney pinch hit. Sweeney could be off the team right now, and they'd be better. Also says ownership is an issue and the front office as well. Scott Harris is probably doing what is allowed by Chris Ilitch. Either way, Scott Harris is awful and should be fired. Look, they're not going to fire him. Like, I'd love to sit here and say he's not the guy. Go get somebody else. They're just not going to fire him for this. This is going to get blamed on the players. This is going to, and they're going to have to, reload here in the offseason. I just don't think there's anything that's going to happen. They could miss out in the playoffs entirely, and I don't think Scott Harris is going anywhere.
No, I don't think so.
He's going to get more credit this season than he is blamed for what happened at the end of the season by ownership, because ownership's going to refuse to pay 2 different guys. Because if you part ways with Scott Harris, you're still going to owe him a ton of money.
Yeah.
No way they're just paying this guy money to do nothing. They're not pulling to Tom Gores, I'll tell you that. Yeah, Sweeney's terrible. Sweeney's awful. This one is from Mike from Essexville. Mike says, if this doesn't cost Scott Harris his job, then nothing will. Even if they sneak into the wild card spot, he should be fired. The players knew that the front office didn't go all in at the trade deadline, so why would they? I hate saying I told you so, but this is a wild card team at best. That's a good point. Remember Gleyber Torres' quotes from around the deadline? It's like, yeah, we're looking to get help. Like, I don't remember the exact words off the top of my head, but he basically put pressure on Scott Harris. Like,
yeah, he said
we're a contender. We need guys here. And ironically, Geno Suarez has been terrible for Seattle, but I don't know.
Still, it's just the act of, it is just when your players are the ones that are kind of openly telling the media, like, yeah, we want to be buyers. We want to take this team seriously and go on a big run here. And the general manager and front office is really feeling the opposite way and openly about it. That's not the best sign in the world.
It's almost like the players recognized before the management did, like, we're kind of overperforming right now.
Or they just care about winning more.
Yeah. Oh, that's a guarantee.
That's exactly.
Ugh. Pitching wins championships, and good pitching isn't cheap. Harris thinks he is Billy Bean, and he's not. You know who Billy Bean is?
Yeah, he's from from the Oakland Athletics, the movie Moneyball.
Never seen
Brad
it.
Pitt. You never seen Moneyball?
I've never seen.
Oh man.
My hot take
man.
is my hot take is I don't love sports movies that much.
I don't really either, honestly. I mean, like I
watch sports every single day of the week. So when I'm watching a movie, I like to.
But you
escape
don't
a
know
little bit
about
from
the Billy
sports.
Bean stuff with Oakland back in
I
the day?
just didn't know the name.
Oh, okay.
That's a really bad look on my part. My bad, guys. I'll keep reading the text. Ownership has gotten cheap and made some odd choices. Spent millions on fancy seats that are empty. This weekend was bad, man. With the rain didn't help, but behind home plate, it looked empty yesterday.
When they delayed the game in the 7th inning yesterday, I legit was just like, can they just cancel the game? Can they just call it? They lost already.
That's what all the fans did.
Yeah, no one wants to
left.
sit here and wait around. I would rather just watch football and just accept the fact that they've lost. The fact that I have to come back in a half an hour and just maybe get my hopes up a little bit for no reason. Thankfully, Cleveland actually figured out how to lose a baseball game for the first time ever, so that helped. But wow, imagine going into this series evened up. Like, at least they have the one-game cushion with Scooble on the mound to open. That's why they still have such a high percentage of making the playoffs over Cleveland. But, man, if they would have went in evened up, like, you would not feel good, that's for sure.
Well, when Cleveland won the doubleheader on Saturday, I was just like,
dominating
it's over.
The doubleheader.
It's over. Like, the Tigers season is over. Got an unnamed text that came in that said, I blame you. Then there's, like, I don't know, 300, 400 words. Not reading that. Tell you that right now.
Not reading that essay.
Nope. Sean texted in and said, Harris is to blame for shopping in the clearance bin at the deadline. All but Finnegan have been awful. I'll say Montero. Rafael Montero's actually been okay, which is shocking, but he's been okay. I'll keep reading the text. Having 2 on, no outs, 4 different times yesterday, and your big bats choking is their fault. Vest blowing 2 straight games he appeared in is his fault. Illich is the root of the problem. Good thing he doesn't own the Lions and Pistons as well. Kyle and Ben, you guys guaranteed a division to the Tigers, and one guy said he would prove you wrong.
Look, are we really in the wrong for guaranteeing they'd win the division? You know, like Ben said,
I think we might be.
It's taking
we just had 2 different texts blame us. So.
It's taking the biggest collapse of all time for this to not actually happen, and they still might actually win it. You know,
It wasn't on my bingo card.
Are we really that wrong here?
You want to know what they have done over the past 10 days with runners in scoring position? I wrote this down.
Sure.
Where'd it go in my notes? With runners in scoring position over the past 10 games, they're batting 161. It's just not good enough. And I think that number gets thrown around way too much because you can have a few bad games. It's just hard, you know? Like, it shouldn't be anything higher than 250. With runners in scoring position, that would be like really awesome. So I think that number gets thrown around maybe a little bit too often, but it feels like they have left an astonishing number of runners on base over the past week and a half, hasn't it? They keep getting guys.
Yes.
Their problem's not getting guys on base; it's getting them home. They walk all the time, or not all the time, but like they're getting guys on consistently with no outs, and then it's 1, 2, 3, goodbye. Riley Green, who had 2 singles yesterday, but like has been awful before that during this stretch. It's Glaber and Torque are the only bats that have been relatively alive for 10 straight days. And yeah, Vest had 2 outings where it was just like, you are actually the worst closer in the entire league. We'll get to more texts coming up. 989-837-6125. It's the Ben Bosscher Show, live right here on 100.9 The Mitt.
The Ben Bosscher Show, built by Bresky Siding and Building Repair on 100.9 The Mitt. by Bresky Siding and Building Repair on 100.9 The Mid.
All right, I don't want to say we're not having fun. I'm having fun dumping on this team, but it's not the conversation I want to have. So to lift our spirits a little bit, don't forget we will get back to the Mitt messages, and we'll jump into the Lions eventually too. But let's do something we like to do on Mondays. It's our stock exchange.
You know what? I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving.
The stock market.
The show goes on.
I'd like to start things off, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, man, go for it.
I'm selling my stock on the hours of midnight to 6 p.m. I no longer like or enjoy being up past midnight.
What?
And the Michigan State game was the death of me.
Wait, hours from midnight to 6 p.m.?
A.M. I would be lying if I told you I remember everything that happened in the second half of the Michigan State game. I would wake up and I'd be like, wait a minute. USC just had the ball. Now Aiden Childs is driving. I hated every second of it. It didn't end until 2:55 in the morning. I was so happy when it was over. I hope that never happens again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'd be lying to you if I told you I was awake for the whole thing.
It's ridiculous, man.
woke
I don't know
up
how
to-
I'm supposed to stay up for it.
Yeah, woke up to see that State covered. That was cool because when I went to sleep, they didn't look they were going to. Sure, I'm with you on this. Hopefully this never happens again because that was tough.
It's ludicrous, and I think there was enough complaining about it to where maybe it doesn't ever happen again.
Yeah. All right, I got a lot of sells this week, so I'm going to kick it off with one. I'm selling my stock on all these blocked field goals, man. This is never going to happen again.
Good, because I was buying stock on special teams.
We're never going to have another day where all these field goals get blocked. The amount 5 different field goals blocked this weekend. Incredible stuff. 2 of them essentially were one of them was to win the game. The other one was to almost have the Jets win the game. Just the fact that this happened as many times as it did yesterday, even when Chase McLaughlin goes back out there for the Bucs to kick the game-winning field goal, I'm like, they're going to block this. Like, I was almost favoring the block to happen rather than just a made field goal. So,
and no leveraging calls either.
yeah, really. And a lot of them seemed like they could have been. A true anomaly yesterday that will never happen again. So that's why I'm selling my stock on all this. We'll even get 5 more total blocked field goals the rest of the season. Probably not.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, exactly. But we had 5 yesterday. Crazy stuff.
I will be buying my stock on the 2024 NFL rookie wide receiver class. They were all terrible yesterday, and I refuse to believe that any of these guys actually stink. Marvin Harrison, Brian Thomas Jr., Malik Neighbors caught a total of 7 passes yesterday. Marvin Harrison had one of the worst drops you'll ever see. Brian Thomas has been
He had 3 of the worst drops you've ever seen.
yeah, exactly. And Malik Neighbors just was
no Lad
kind of
McConkey either. He didn't really have a big game either.
No, all these guys just totally bottled up. People are kind of freaking out about Marv. I think that's more of a Kyler Murray just can't throw 5 nice passes in a row.
We're not blaming yesterday on Kyler Murray over Marv, are we?
No, but I also just think Kyler Murray's incapable of having like
Sure.
3 consecutive good drives. I don't know what's going on with the Jaguars and Brian Thomas Jr., and then Malik Neighbors will be bounce back. But really, really bad day yesterday for all those guys, so I'm going to buy stock on them, knowing that they'll be back.
I actually kind of have a similar one with this past year's class, though. I'm buying all the rookie running back stock because, unfortunately, we'll talk about this in the news at some point. Najee Harris goes out for the year for the Chargers. So Amarian Hampton, who's gotten off to a rougher start, I would say, for a first-round running back. Ashton Genty obviously has not gotten things going at all for the Raiders. I still think, and we saw Quinn
17 carries for like 60 yards.
Exactly. Travion Henderson should get more run these next few weeks because, everyone on the Patriots decided to fumble. Literally everyone.
How many times do you think Ramondre Stevenson has fumbled since 2021?
Oh, he's the worst in the league at it. Probably like 10 times.
16.
Oh, my God.
16 fumbles since 2021. Why do they keep giving him the ball?
Well,
I have
the funny
no
part
idea.
is, if you remember correctly, Antonio Gibson, that was his thing when he was in Washington. He was like Mr. Fumble. So they have Stevenson and Gibson, both of them fumble. Drake May fumbles. I think Travion Henderson's going to get much more run. Quinshad Judkins, surprisingly, had like the best day of all the rookie running backs yesterday. So I'm just going to buy stock on all the rookie RBs as a whole because I think that, this was a really good running back class, and at some point they're going to have to pick things up. This is a good time to buy because really none of them have been good so far.
I'll buy stock on Wink Martindale. I think if Michigan's going to make the playoffs and beat Ohio State this year, I don't want to admit I'm wrong on the first 3 weeks. I just think that we've had more evidence. It's going to be built on the defense in the front seven rather than being built on Bryce Underwood. That front seven I thought was nasty on Saturday against Nebraska.
Yeah.
The disguised blitzing, you never know where the pressure's coming from, people winning their one-on-ones. Jayshon Barham's a monster.
He truly
a
is.
monster. So I'm buying stock on Wink Martindale. Maybe not the best time to do it after a good performance from him, but I think that's now the identity of Michigan, not Bryce Underwood.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Okay, I'll go back to the NFL here because I got a good sell. Lions fans should like this one. I'm going to sell Caleb Williams stock. Any that rose this weekend, I'm out on it. Look, I still don't think he's truly very good. They played against Dallas, man. The Dallas defense is truly – I mean, even Mike Greenberg this morning on Get Up was like, yeah, Caleb Williams looked good. I don't really know, though. It was against Dallas, so –
Well, if only they had like a generational pass rusher.
Oh.
That might help him out a little bit.
Kenny Clark gets injured in this game, too. Pretty tough.
Hey, but at least they have 2 extra first-round picks.
Right,
That's,
right.
The saving grace of all the Cowboys season when they end up like 5-13 or 5-14. At least the Cowboys fans know they've got 2 extra first-round picks.
I'll flip this back on Caleb Williams rather than dogging on Dallas. But yeah, I'm just going to sell my stock. I was going to do the Bears as a whole, but I don't think anyone's buying their team stock. But I think people are starting to hype up Caleb after yesterday's win.
I mean, Caleb I
hit
thought
some really good throws for sure. But I'm just going to sell my stock on him. I still don't really trust this team and in him very much.
Some of the stuff that he was doing yesterday reminded me of his like Heisman season when he's throwing crossbody on the run, just darting people up. I thought that was maybe the best game of his career.
Ben Johnson got a little bit creative yesterday too. That was cool.
The flea flicker. You see his post-game celebration speech?
No, I didn't.
A little corny.
Although
nowadays I feel like every post-game celebration speech other than Dan Campbell and a select
right.
few others is a little bit corny.
Yeah.
Like Sean McVay's not, Kevin O'Connell's not.
One
Andy
thing
Reid's
that truly
not.
did make me smile, though, was when they did the flea flicker play and they just panned it to Ben Johnson and he's just stone-faced. I mean, just no smile. That just reminded me of him with the Lions. They would pull off a crazy play. Everybody on the sideline would be celebrating, even Dan Campbell, and Ben Johnson just sitting there like nothing happened.
You see Aaron Glenn's celebration
Yeah,
only for
man,
him
that
to
was
end up
awesome.
losing that game?
That was sweet.
I don't know if you can do that and then lose the game and not face some backlash for that. So sorry, Aaron Glenn. All right, 989-837-6125. We'll get back to the Tigers eventually. But let's jump into this Detroit Lions game that is happening tonight. I don't want to call it like a must-win game because I don't think it is, and I also think I specifically overuse that term. But, hey, difference between 2-1 and 1-2, pretty big in the NFL. So let's jump into it when we get back. Our predictions for the game when we come back. It's the Ben Bosscher Show live right here on 100.9 The Mitt.
The Ben Bosscher Show, built by Bresky Siding and Building Repair on 100.9.
Saginaw, Midland.
Had to take my sweatshirt off. Got so worked up talking about that Tigers team. Let's put him aside for a second, though. Detroit Lions, man, it's game day. Kyle's got the Amon-Ra jersey on. Just had to take the Lions sweatshirt off. 10 o'clock hour, as always, brought to you by Corning here on the Ben Bosscher Show. Look, this game against the Ravens tonight, all eyes are going to be on this Detroit Lions team. I repeat, I do not think that this is a must-win game. To be quite honest with you, Kyle, before the season started, this was one of the very rare scheduled losses for me. I kind of walk into this game thinking, look, I don't think the Lions have no shot. I want to make that very clear. I do think that the 5.5 is too much. That's why I took the Lions in our spread picks from Thursday, which, by the way, just all of us, just disasters this weekend.
I will have more to say on this during Around the League.
Okay. This Ravens team has a few more vulnerabilities than I think people are making them out. Look, I think this is the best team in the AFC, despite the loss. I think this is potentially the best team in the NFL, but they're not perfect. I think this is going to be a little bit of a shootout, and if the Lions can hang in there in the fourth quarter, well, then how can you not say they're going to have a chance to win this thing? Because the Ravens are notoriously fourth quarter chokers, kind of like the Tigers have been chokers as of late too. Look, we're going to talk to Nick Mehta a little bit later on in the show. He writes for Ravens Beatdown, BaltimoreBeatdown.com. So we're going to get his thoughts on this too. But I do want to make one thing very clear. There's this narrative that's existed for years with this Detroit Lions team that they can't beat the mobile quarterbacks. I think this is a total myth, right? Yes, they have not beat Lamar Jackson. Yes, they have not beat Josh Allen. Nobody beats those guys. They've beat up on Kyler Murray, though. They've beat up on Caleb Williams. Jordan Love hasn't really been someone who's hurt the Lions with their legs. There's a lot of mobile quarterbacks in the NFL. Nobody is like Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. So just because they can't stop those guys and those guys run all over the Lions, which, by the way, they're just not shutting down Lamar tonight. They're just not. Nobody shuts down Lamar. Nobody does it. And specifically, I think this Lions team is not very equipped to. So if Lamar Jackson ends up running for 70 yards tonight and dicing up the Lions and throwing for 3 touchdowns, which is entirely possible, I don't want to hear about the Lions can't stop mobile quarterbacks. It's just such a stupid narrative that I'm so sick of, and I've heard way too many times over the past 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, we discussed this last week. There's a difference between, just talking about all the mobile quarterbacks and then Lamar Jackson. He's just obviously in a different tier. He's a different tier of quarterback in general. A lot of the mobile quarterbacks that's their biggest weapon. And sure, Lamar's probably is still his biggest weapon. He's still one of the most elite pocket passers in the league. He
led the league in QBR and QB rating last year.
He's so good in the pocket. So he's not just this traditional mobile quarterback that actually thrives when they get out of the pocket. So, yeah, I mean, to say that, they're going to struggle, and we're going to hear that tonight, right? I mean, Lamar's probably going to have a really good game, and we're going to hear about this, the Lions can't defend the mobile quarterbacks. No, they can't defend Lamar Jackson because no one else can. He's that good. And so I'm interested to see if maybe the game plan shifts to let's shut down Derrick Henry. And
I think it has to be that.
Yeah.
I think the biggest key to me is how do you do what the Browns did last week and make Derrick Henry take Derrick Henry out of the game. And that Browns defense, you got to give them credit where credit's due. They totally take Derrick Henry out of the game. They did the same thing to Josh Jacobs yesterday. Yeah, we got to give them credit.
They gave up 40 points to the Ravens.
Yeah, a lot of that was Hey, here Baltimore start on the 40-yard line.
Right.
They're going to end up scoring here. Browns still the number one defense in the NFL in terms of total yardage. Their defense and special teams just sucks. So you got to follow the script as to what they did last week. And I honestly think if you look at what Cleveland does in terms of loading up the box and basically going all out to stop the run, Detroit's defense is built very similar to that. They like having that extra linebacker out there than the extra DB. And last week against the Bears, they elected to have that extra DB and Amik Robertson out there a little bit more often than Derek Barnes. But I think they go back to their base package this week and end up playing a lot of 3 linebacker looks. Don't let Derrick Henry break one loose. This interior of the Ravens' offensive line has some vulnerabilities. So I do think there's a chance to capitalize. Look, can you take Lamar Jackson out of the game? No. I think it's impossible. I think Lamar has proven that he's one of the best quarterbacks in the history of the game. The Lions just don't have that, okay? So how do you end up slowing down this defense? You got to set them up on 3rd and longs, or this offense. You got to make sure that the Ravens' offense is in some 3rd and longs, and you got to make sure Derrick Henry's not killing you too. Because if Derrick Henry and Lamar are killing you, you're not going to win the game. The only way the Lions win today, I think, is in a little bit of a shootout. And they've got to be able to come through and have some really nice explosive plays, some long drives, because Baltimore is going to make this as difficult as possible. They're the scariest team in the league to play.
Yeah, and I think that the shootout kind of is what maybe we expect to happen in this game, right? I mean, you look at the line for this game, it's the highest point total over under the week at 53.5, which is blowing out any of the other games from this week as far as what they were pregame. And we saw what happened in week 1 between Buffalo and Baltimore. I still think this Baltimore defense is good, but the pass defense and their secondary has clearly not improved like maybe we thought it would preseason. It's much more mirroring the unit that they had last year, which was a poor pass defense.
Well, it's because Jair Alexander has been useless for them in the secondary.
And didn't play last week either, so they're banged up already. And so, yeah, I mean, they have good players defensively, but the Lions should be able to score on them. It's just about, can they create 1 or 2 turnovers? I think that's the big spot for them tonight. I think we for sure get a shootout, but are they able to create at least a stop/turnover in a clutch situation? I think that's really the key for tonight.
Well, the interesting part about Lamar Jackson, too, is, you know, people throw, look how much he can run. He's one of the best pocket quarterbacks in the league, and he also doesn't put the ball in harm's way. Last year, he was number 1 in the NFL in turnover-worthy play percentage, and when I say number 1, I mean the lowest turnover-worthy play percentage across the league amongst starters and guys who played last year. He just doesn't put the ball in harm's way. Last year was the best season he had in his career, and he still didn't win the MVP, which was crazy. I thought it should have went to Allen at the time, but you look back at the pro reference pages and start comparing him. What Lamar Jackson did last year was truly incredible and special. He doesn't put the ball in harm's way. He had 4 interceptions the entire season last year, 0 so far this year. But then he's going up against this Lions defense that loves to blitz, number 2 in the NFL last year in blitz percentage. It's not at all been close to that this year, but maybe they end up getting back to their old ways, the Aaron Glenn ways here today, trying to get some pressure under Lamar Jackson. But even if they don't, you've got Kirby Joseph, who led the league in interceptions last year, already has 1 this season, and Brian Branch, who's already forced a turnover of his own by forcing a fumble, kind of Baltimore's version of Kyle Hamilton over here in Detroit. You've got the best safety tandem in the NFL who likes to cause a lot of turnovers at the end of the day. And a lot of those turnovers are because of the pressure that is coming via the blitz. You've got a strength-on-strength matchup here. This Lions defense that is, you know, they give up a lot of yards, but I think they're okay with it because of the turnovers that they spark throughout the season, going up against this Ravens offense and Lamar Jackson, who just doesn't put the ball in harm's way. I can't wait to see how this chess match plays out.
Well, and even, I mean, you talk about the interceptions with Lamar Jackson. This is a quarterback that rushes for 1,000 yards every year and just doesn't really fumble.
Nope.
You know, so you add that into the perspective as well. And I keep going back to it, but I think it is smart to compare this game to the Buffalo game. And look what it took for Buffalo to come back and win that game.
Got to force
a
one.
Late Derrick Henry fumble. That Baltimore just wins the game if that doesn't happen. You know, so that's what it's going to take. It's going to take a key clutch turnover down the stretch, or maybe even it's early just so they can get off to a lead. And the offense just has to be ready to – because I don't want to sit here and be like, well, the defense just has to get stops.
No, the defense has to survive.
They
have to get a couple stops tonight.
Right. Like this is not going to be one of those games that we're going to sit here and bark at the Lions defense for allowing 35 points. Like, I know that obviously we should never be happy with that, but
it's going to happen.
It's just going to happen. Yeah, like this Ravens offense is so elite, and the Lions secondary just truly hasn't been phenomenal to start off this season. I think that's fair to say.
No, and this is not a get-right game, it doesn't seem like.
No.
Although, you know what matchup I am pretty interested in? The Terron Arnold, DeAndre Hopkins matchup. 2 pretty oversized guys for their position, physical matchup.
Hopkins has been pretty good so far to start this season. Made some really good catches, obviously.
Low volume, but the catches he has made have been incredible. He's not creating a ton of separation, which I think is what hurts Terron Arnold sometimes. But usually when it's a contested play, Terron Arnold comes up with the PBU or just forces an incompletion more often than not. So I'm curious to see that matchup specifically tonight. Zay Flowers, over in the middle of the field is going to be a very interesting thing because as great as Jack Campbell has been so far this year in terms of stopping the run, that's been one knock on him. He hasn't been able to cover the middle of the field very well. Guess where Zay Jones likes to do a lot of his damage. That's going to be another fascinating matchup. And on the flip side of that, Amon-Ra St. Brown over the middle of the field, where the Ravens have been excellent for years because of Roquan Smith hanging around in there. That's going to be another fascinating matchup too. I kind of think Jameson Williams is the key tonight, though. With Kyle Hamilton, he's their version of Ryan Branch, a safety that's plays in the box a lot, not one of those
Huge
lurker safeties.
Yeah.
Huge dude. He's going to end up being in the box a lot more, I think, trying to help out with the St. Brown stuff and the Laporta stuff, which I think is going to lead to some one-on-one opportunities with Jameson Williams. I don't think Jair Alexander can guard him anymore. So I'm very curious to see if J-Mo can break one and pick up a huge play down the field at some point, because they don't switch their their corners. Nate Wiggins stays on the right side. Jair Alexander stays on the left side. Just keep J-Mo out on the left and see if he can keep up with. See if Jair can keep up with him, because I don't think he can.
Look at the big game that Keon Coleman had against the Ravens in Week 1. I mean, he was their down the field guy. He had multiple 20-plus yard catches down the field. So Jameson Williams is our version of that, and yeah, I think that's a good guy to look out for. This Ravens defense is definitely exposable. I think that's what you feel good about tonight. If the Lions bring what they did on offense last week against Chicago, then we're in for a good game tonight.
989-837-6125. You ended up taking that Ravens spread Thursday, didn't you?
I did, and I'm
still feel good about that?
I mean, obviously, I'm rooting for the Lions. I'm not rooting for that to happen. I'm just nervous about the Ravens really running up the score. That's the only thing that I mean, they put up 40 in the first 2 games of the year. That's it's kind of a red flag. But obviously, I'm rooting for the Lions. I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, I want my spread pick to hit. Like, I could care less about my spread pick if the Lions win.
You know what they haven't done, though? Put up 50.
Played the Lions? Oh.
And they haven't played the Lions yet, too. Look, 2023, you can't forget about it. But I think because of that matchup, the Lions actually do have a couple things going for them this time around. I'll tell you what that is when we come back. This is the Ben Bosscher Show, live right here on 100.9 The Minute. The 10 o'clock hour is always brought to you by Corning, a global leader in material science, right here in Midland. From the glass on your smartphones to innovations that power clean energy and advanced medicine, Corning is shaping the future. But it's not just about the technology. It is also about the people. Corning invests in the community, supports local schools, and creates opportunities close to home. With a legacy of innovation and commitment to what's next, Corning is proud to call Midland a part of its story. Corning, creating life-changing innovations, one breakthrough at a time. This is the Ben Bosscher Show, live right here on 100.9 The Minute.
The Ben Bosscher Show, built by Bresky Siding and Building Repair on 100.9 The Minute.
Adversity in all forms. That's why I coach. That's my purpose. Every member of this team can lean on me, and I'll teach them how they can lean on themselves and each other.
This message presented by the MHSAA and the Michigan Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
The Ben Bosscher Show, built by Bresky Siding and Building Repair on 100.9 The Mid.
You know, regarding this game tonight, I honestly think, as crazy and backwards as this sound, that blowout from 2023 when the Ravens pretty seamlessly went 38-6 victory against the Lions, I think that helps the Lions in a good way because, you know, you hear the Lions talk about this Ravens team, and it all starts and ends with Lamar Jackson. But you know what else Dan Campbell has said, Jared Goff has said, St. Brown has said this week is, we remember that 23 game. Like, we have not forgotten about that. And even look at the way that they're preparing for this game. He's not going to play tonight. It's a transaction that is going to get lost throughout the course of the season. But, like, going out and signing Malik Cunningham to basically be your scout quarterback, I think that's a real thing. I mean, Lamar Jackson has this incredible 24-2 record against NFC quarterbacks. It's mostly because you can't practice for Lamar Jackson. You cannot prepare for this guy. He is a different sort of guy. He's a different sort of animal. He's one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Like, straight up, it's not really up for debate. He is simply the best mobile quarterback in the history of the game. No offense to Michael Vick, but this guy is just levels above him. Levels above him. He's one ring away from me considering him like one of the 5 best QBs ever. Same with Josh Allen. But everyone remembers that game, and they're now preparing for it a little bit differently. Now they've gotten a taste of what it's like to play Lamar Jackson, so they're going into it a little bit more prepared. And you know how Dan Campbell likes to operate. Don't ever forget about that game. Use it as fuel. I do think that 38-6 loss that the Lions had, where they just, that game scarred me. For the rest of the season, I was like, yeah, but what about that game against Baltimore? I mean, they end up in the NFC Championship and easily could have made it to the Super Bowl, but that game scarred me for a long time. I think it not scarred the Lions, but it's definitely not something that they're forgetting and that not something that they have forgot. I think that kind of favors the Lions because when you beat up on a team pretty good earlier on in the year, like a division team, you almost like kind of let your guard down on them. And I'm not saying that Baltimore's going to do that with the Lions, but they probably think of the Lions as a pushover team based on what happened to them last year. I'm really excited to talk to Nick a little bit later on from Baltimore Beatdown and kind of ask him what it is that the Ravens are kind of how are the Ravens preparing for the Lions? What's the number one thing they're looking for to stop from their coaching staff? Because obviously with the Ravens and the Lions, it's Lamar Jackson. But I do think that beatdown from a couple of years ago is actually working in favor somewhat with the Lions going into this.
Yeah, I think so too. And also, a lot of the guys still aren't on the team, but Dan Campbell's first season was the Justin Tucker longest field goal stilled in NFL history in Ford Field. So it's been 2 bad taste in your mouth losses to this Baltimore team that has kind of just haunted Detroit over the last several seasons.
They've never won in Baltimore. You know that?
Never?
Never. They only play once every 4 years.
Right.
Now it's like
it's
once every 4.5.
Been there for crazy long.
Yeah.
But wow, that's pretty interesting. Never.
Never.
That's pretty terrible.
To be fair, they only play once every 8 years in Baltimore. But now that there's that 18th game, it's a little wonky.
That's why we're playing them for the second time in 3 years.
Yes. So now it's a little bit wonky. But yeah, they don't play there very often. But yeah, that is the thing. The Lions have never won in Baltimore.
Yeah. And I continue to bring it up. Lamar doesn't lose to the NFC. It's so weird. It's truly one of the weirder stats there is, and Daniel Jones being one of the 2 guys that's beaten him is also pretty hilarious.
But is it weird? Because it makes sense. Like, you just don't get to prepare for this guy.
Yeah, Kyler Murray is not Lamar Jackson, you know? Jalen Hurts is not Lamar Jackson. Like all these other mobile quarterbacks that you can kind of group together. Even Daniel Jones at the time when he was in New York and still, currently still.
Caleb Williams.
Yeah, like they're not Lamar. It's just a much different beast. And so you're right, it does make sense. And I think, once again, it benefits the Lions to play this team early in the season that just typically kind of has befuddling moments early in the season that once you get into week 7 and on, they're golden. You know, they become this different level of team. But early in the year, Baltimore does this every season. They just have some weird games. That's what happened to them in week 1. And so maybe this is one of those weird games where they just don't have it late in the game. They kind of lose all their clutch factors for some reason early in the season. So that's another reason why you could point in favor of the Lions. But yeah, I think that the stuff about most of the guys being on this team that were on that 23 team playing a factor in this, it totally makes sense, right? I mean, that was the best season that the Lions have had long-term wise. Going all the way to the NFC Championship game, and they got spanked. That was the only game they got really killed in that season.
That's the last true ass beating the Lions have had, other than the Packers game.
Oh yeah,
that was an ass beating too.
Yes, that for sure counts actually.
But that was like the first. That was the last time it feels like I guess that Green Bay game kind of just nullifies everything.
It really does.
You know what does stink about playing a team like Lamar, like playing against a guy like Lamar Jackson? Sometimes, no matter how you feel about the Lions defense, and I think you and I specifically have been much higher on them than the public consensus has been. Like, I really do think this is going to be one of the better defenses when it's all said and done. That will not be the narrative for the national media tomorrow, because there's going to be some plays tonight where you're just sitting back and Hutchinson has one hand on Lamar, and then he runs backwards 10 yards.
I'm imagining it right now, Ben. I
know.
hate it.
There is going to be some plays today where the Lions defense is absolutely useless versus Lamar Jackson. Aiden Hutchinson's going to beat his guy, get one hand on Lamar. Lamar Jackson's going to turn his shoulder, run backwards 15 yards. And where any other quarterback in the history of the NFL, we'd say, that was stupid, he's somehow going to manage to pick up 35 yards on the play. And we're going to be like, what the hell? And you won't even be able to admire the play because it's going to be a 3rd and 12. You were seconds away from getting out of the situation, getting the ball back. And Lamar Jackson's going to do something that if you weren't playing up against the Lions, you'd have to just drop your jaw and go, unbelievable. He really is. Like, I love watching this guy. He's so good. And I hate when you have to play against a quarterback like this. Josh Allen's a bully. Like, when we played Josh Allen last year, I say we like him on the team. When the Lions played Josh Allen last year, that was last year, week 15, and everybody got hurt. Carlton Davis and Willie McNeil got hurt.
I'm thinking of the Thanksgiving Bills game.
No. I'm talking about last year. It was like, this guy's stupid. He's a bully. There's nothing we can do. With Lamar, it's like, it's a similar, but it's not the same, because with Lamar Jackson, it's just like, who made this guy? Like, how did... Like, what lab was this
Allen's
man
the
built
same way, though. It's just like the good news about when you played Allen is he used to make mistakes. You know, he used to throw picks. Now he just decided not to anymore. But that was the one thing with him that you felt like you had a chance with. With Lamar, there's really nothing.
No,
you know, you just got to outscore the Ravens. That's really the way you win tonight.
Yeah, the poor Lions defense is not going to be put in a very good situation tonight. And I'm very curious to see, because Aaron Glenn for years, against these quote-unquote mobile quarterbacks, would try to contain them rather than get after them. It's like, hey, we just got to keep these guys in the pocket and not hurt them with your feet. Well, got bad news. Lamar's one of the best pocket quarterbacks in the NFL as well. I'd say throw that Aaron Glenn strategy out the window, Calvin Shepard. Just go after him. Get him.
I am interested to see how he attacks this. I think that Shepard will probably take that approach. I would think so.
Go get some Brian Branch blitzes in there. The linebacker blitzes haven't been hitting the first 2 weeks of the season. I wouldn't say give up on those by any stretch of the imagination. Try to get Hutchinson some one-on-one looks.
I was going to say, man, look, we got to get Hutchinson in the backfield more often. Like, I know he ended up having a solid amount of pressures last week. It took him a while, though, to get going.
You don't have to keep him on the edge.
This has got to be a Hutchinson early impact game. We're due for one. No Davenport tonight, correct?
No Davenport tonight. Right. It's Muhammad getting the look.
He was pretty good. He's been pretty good.
He's been awesome. Pretty good is like an understatement.
Yeah, you're right.
He's been fantastic
in his limited role, and I think now in a full-time role will be an eye-opener for, like, could this guy potentially be the guy next to Hutchinson the rest of the year?
That's the key. The rest of the year, long term, who knows? Maybe they'll never have a guy across from Hutchinson long term, but yeah, Muhammad's gonna get some run tonight, and I think that's like number one wild card. Maybe not number one wild card, but definitely something Lions fans should keep their eyes on. Across from Hutchinson, what's Muhammad look like tonight? 989-837-6125. Go ahead and send in your score predictions for tonight's game. We'll give you ours a little bit later on in the show. Let's take a trip around the league, because Sunday, when Lions don't play on Sunday, whether it's Sunday night football that they're on, or, well, I guess Sunday night football, I'm kind of just freaking out the whole day. But if they play on Monday and they play on Thursday and you kind of just get to sit down and watch an NFL slate, it's a really good feeling. So let's go take a trip around the league when we come back. It's the Ben Bosscher Show, live right here on 100.9 The Mitt. As always, Ace Hardware and Sports, locally owned and proudly family operated right here in Midland. Take advantage off the $3 off Ortho Weed Killers, proven power to get your yard back, or go bigger with $10 off Spruce Weed and Grass Killer, tough on the weeds, easy on your wallet. Get them out of here before that cold weather comes around. Visit them on East Main Street in downtown Midland, right where local service meets big-time savings. Sport your yard and your community all in one stop.
The Ben Bosscher Show, built by Bresky Siding and Building Repair on 100.9 The Mitt.
subscribe button, please do. With that being said, let's take a trip around the league.
It's time to zoom out and go around the league.
All right, no gimmick, no bit today. Let's just jump right into it. Let's just run through every game. I wrote down a bunch of stuff for every single game. Yeah, let's do it. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right, first game. Actually, the game I think I wrote the least about. Second least. Bengals-Vikings. So do you think J.J. McCarthy, 1 to 10, how happy do you think he was watching this game? Because on one hand, his team's winning, get back in the win column. On the other hand, it'd be like if I took a day off, you and Brad did the show, and it was like the highest rated show. You guys had like hundreds of people in the YouTube listening. I'd be like, that's awesome for the station, but
you would be that guy? Really?
No, I would be really happy, but in the back of my mind, I'd be like, that's
doesn't really sound like it.
That's not good. I don't know. Do you think J.J. McCarthy is
Of
like a
course
10
he's
out of
happy.
10 happy that they absolutely destroyed the Bengals when he wasn't on the field?
I mean, look, we're also not going to sit here and act like Carson Wentz just balled out. It was Jake Browning giving the ball to the Vikings. Jake Browning was bad, man, and we kind of gassed him up as one of the better backups, at least that was going to be playing this week. I mean, the fact that Isaiah Rodgers had the highest PFF grade ever given out to a defensive player this week, a 99.9 or whatever it was. PFF said it was like brand new. He scored 2 touchdowns in the first half and forced 3 turnovers. Like, just an unreal first half from him. Oh, yeah, this game was an absolute blowout.
I don't have much else to say.
Yeah, I mean, it was the battle of backups, man. It was for sure won by Wentz.
Texans-Jags. I know you have a lot to say about this game. Here's the first thing that I wrote down. And this was such a terrible game, but I feel like CJ Stroud's brain is wired not in the right way anymore because of, this is what happens when you have 2 years of terrible offensive line play. It feels like he's instantly, the second he gets the ball, worried about avoiding a sack, worried about staying upright, rather than actually playing quarterback and pushing the ball down the field. You have terrible offensive line play, which this is the only, he's the new Joe Burrow. There's just guys chasing him all the time. They drafted 2 wide receivers in this year's draft. Meanwhile, they have no offensive line. It just feels like he's wired just the wrong way now because of 2 years of this. It's pretty unfortunate.
This game stunk, man.
It was so bad, and I was so excited about it.
This was one of the worst games I think I've ever watched. Just super frustrating. Neither team wanted to win. We should be allowed to not award either team a win, aka this should have been a tie. And that's when it was 10-10, I was like, oh, this game is for sure ending in a tie. Neither of these teams deserve to win. I mean, it was Trevor Lawrence and C.J. Stroud essentially battling for like
who can have more
who
3
could
and
lose, who could lose the game worse. And Nico Collins decided, hey, let me get my hand in on this race and give a late game fumble. This was just oh man, I really did not enjoy this game. Who would have thought Trevor Lawrence versus C.J. Stroud was going to be like the worst quarterback matchup we've had all season?
I was so excited for it too. There's just so much on the line. I like both quarterbacks. I think I don't know.
And
I'm not giving up on C.J. Stroud. Maybe I should have bought C.J. Stroud. I know.
He looked really bad.
And I just don't want to give up on the guy because he was so incredible his rookie season. For this season, it's probably done.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to sell you on the Texans anymore.
Right.
I don't want to give up on his career because I enjoyed him so much as a rookie. But as long as that offensive line is this bad, like it just feels like it's over.
But I also think, and I'm going to save this for the second part of the stock seg. Because I think that we might be a little quick about grading some of these quarterbacks early in their career.
For sure. Doesn't it feel like Trevor Lawrence just has no chemistry with any of his wide receivers?
No, and look, this is just as much on Trevor Lawrence as it is on Brian Thomas Jr., by the way. What happened between those two guys?
I don't know.
Thomas has some of the worst body language I've ever seen on the field.
So does Trevor Lawrence.
I mean, Brian Thomas looks like he hates his life every time he runs a route and the ball doesn't get thrown to him. And then obviously he had that late game snag or whatever, but like Lawrence wasn't good, but the Jags had 5 drops, I'm pretty sure, their receiving core. That's absurd.
I can almost guarantee, and that was a problem all of last year too, I can almost guarantee those guys have never hung out outside of Jacksonville, their practice facility, ever.
You don't think they watched the Clemson LSU game together?
No. I think Trevor Lawrence is not like a guy who hangs out with his dudes. And I mean, obviously I have no insight on this. He just doesn't seem like a foxhole guy, you know?
I was watching this game with one of my buddies yesterday, and he said He gave a great take. He said, the whole Trevor Lawrence long hair thing, it kind of stinks once he's not good.
Yes.
It was only cool
For
when he
sure.
was good at quarterback, and now it's kind of like, dude, shave your hair.
Trevor Lawrence kind of seems like a guy who, the second he leaves the facility, he just doesn't even think about football once. And he's had some weird quotes over the years where he has openly said, like, football's not my number one priority in life. Like, there's more to life than just winning and losing football games.
I think that's fair.
That's fair, but, like,
maybe don't say that if you, like, haven't been very good,
But also, I don't know, some of the
it is
quarterbacks
fair.
have it, some of them don't. And the guys who have it and are hungry and have that obsessive mindset, those are typically the guys that end up on top and have great legacies. Yeah, just doesn't really seem like he wants it all that much. Colts, Titans.
Daniel Jones, man.
Indiana Jones.
Is Jonathan Taylor the offensive player of the year right now?
He's a heavy favorite, yeah.
He's been killing it.
Yeah, I don't have much else to say about this
No.
one. Kenny Moore had the pick six. Cam Ward has not looked all that great.
So many pick sixes this week, too. And that pass from Cam Ward, man,
It's like he
really
just didn't
bad.
see the guy in
Really
the flats.
bad.
Brian Callahan, I think, is just a terrible coach. I'm all good on him. Rams, Eagles. Zach Bond starts out the game with an interception on the slant route. Puka Nacua is one of the most heavily targeted guys across the league. Adams, I think, has just revived his career here with Stafford. But the story of the game, is they're up 3 scores in the third quarter. It looks like the Rams are going to take down this
26-7.
Looks like the Rams are going to take down this fraudulent Eagles team, and we get to have all these conversations about the Eagles offense. They woke up. Third quarter, they woke up. A.J. Brown all of a sudden looked like a freak of nature once again, just not just mossing guys, but throwing guys off of him for some yak yards as well. And
they blocked 2 field goals, Ben.
Yeah, I know.
How do you block 2 field goals in the same game?
I know. You don't. That doesn't actually happen. You got a 500-pound guy running in for a touchdown, Jordan Davis. They're still not calling any sort of false starts on the tush-push, even though they definitely are false starts.
Right.
But
Eagles
man,
pass game comes back alive late in the game. Yeah, it's
incredible stuff from the Eagles, man.
Anyone
They're still
who-
at the top of the pyramid tomorrow for sure.
Anyone who had Rams plus 3.5 shares my frustration. Just the worst beat of all time. There was really no scenario where this didn't hit because you're down by 1 and you have the game-winning field goal. There's really no world where they don't at least cover. I also separately had Rams money line because I felt really good about them winning this game. Jordan Davis, just go down, man. Why do you got to take it back to the house? Just go down.
No, come on. If you got a chance to run one into the end zone as a
especially
defensive
big fella,
guy,
yeah.
you got to do it.
No, I know. It's just, I was so frustrated by this, man. I was very, very upset when this game ended.
I don't blame you. But Jalen Hurts actually woke up. Eagles offense has awakened. It's the biggest takeaway from
I also,
this one.
though, took away, the Rams are really, really good.
Awesome.
Just choked. They really did just choke the game, but they're really good.
I think it might be the best receiver duo in the NFL. It really might be.
Over Jamar and T?
Well, for this year.
Right.
With no Burrow, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Raiders, Commanders. Do they not teach these guys to slide in Washington?
You're talking about Mariota?
Mariota tried to hurdle
the
someone and ended up.
fumble he had? It was like a cartoon, man.
This is the whole reason Jaden Daniels is out. Because he doesn't slide and he gets hit too much and he's taking a bunch of hits on it. No one's taken more hits at the quarterback position past the line of scrimmage than Jaden Daniels over the past season and 3 games. Mariota's just doing the same thing, not sliding. They end up crushing the Raiders team. I don't apologize very often, but I think I'll start to apologize for hyping up the Raiders. They're just not very good.
Yeah, their
Ashton
O-line
Genty
is
can't do anything.
terrible.
If you have a bad O-line and a bad defense, it doesn't really matter who your quarterback
Yeah.
and wide receivers are. It's probably just not going to work out.
Yeah.
That's all I got on that
Trey
one.
Tucker, though, big game.
Falcons at Panthers.
What happened in this game?
Bryce Young, not the worst quarterback in the league.
No, it was a guy playing on the other side of the ball. Michael Penix.
I don't even want to give the Panthers defense any credit, even though they got a shutout, the first shutout of the year in the NFL, because Michael Penix was missing receivers. I looked this up too. He has a 0% turnover-worthy play percentage because when he misses a guy, it's so bad that no one has a chance to catch it. Nobody. He would throw a ball to a receiver 15 yards down the field that was just not only uncatchable, but you'd think he was just throwing the ball away. It was so out of place. He was awful yesterday. The worst quarterback that played yesterday. Man, we already 9 minutes in. We still got a lot of games to get to.
Crazy.
Yeah, Penix was throwing balls that were nowhere near his receiver. It was awful. Just a terrible game from the Falcons. There it is.
Sorry, I was bringing it back.
You're good. Maybe we should just make a longer sounder.
Yeah, that could be. It could be useful.
You got nothing else on this one?
No. Why would I have anything more on this? 30
you
to
were,
nothing.
You were Mr.
Panthers?
Michael Penix going into the year.
Whoa,
I just thought you'd have more
I don't know
takes on
about
this.
that. I don't know about that. I just thought that the Falcons would be good. They're not.
No, they don't trust Penix at all. Yesterday was the reason why. Steelers, Patriots. I mean, it started out, Drake May had a stupid play that should have been picked off. He ends up fumbling later on, and the fumbles are what killed this team. Ramondre Stevenson had 2 of them. He's had 16 since 2021. I have no idea why Travion Henderson's just not getting the ball.
Gibson comes in, he fumbles. Drake May fumbles. Just fumble fest.
Oh, and then they throw the ball short of the sticks.
Yeah.
With the game on the line. Love when quarterbacks do that.
Not a good Drake May game, that's for sure.
He's putting up numbers.
Hit the Steelers, though, in the spread picks, baby.
Putting up stats. I hate to admit this, too. Aaron Rodgers pretty good when he's kept clean.
Yeah,
he's really
that
good
back
when
shoulder
he's
fade
clean.
throw he has to the end zone to win the game. I mean, like that's classic Aaron Rodgers, you know. Been doing that for his whole career.
Hate to admit it, but it's true. Packers Browns. Whoo!
Hey, our boy Johnny B was at this game.
He
brought the luck.
You, Cleveland. All right, what's more likely here? Cleveland actually has a legitimate defense that maybe we got to take a little bit more seriously next week, or the Packers are just not these world beaters that we made them out to be through the first 2 weeks of the season.
I think both are true. If I had to lean to one, though, it'd be that the Browns actually have a legit good defense.
I am so happy that we get to burst the bubble of the Packers and hyping them up as the best team in the NFL. I'm so sick of that narrative.
I think the hyping up Green Bay just comes with Jordan Love. I still think Green Bay's roster is still like super elite, and that's why. But we have to remember what Jordan Love was for a large chunk of last year in the middle of the season. A guy that just turned the ball over a ton in late game clutch scenarios. It's exactly that interception was terrible at the end of that game. Cleveland had no business even scoring any points. They had a 1st and goal from the 2-yard line, and next thing you know, they're on the 25.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't want to win, and Green Bay let them do it. So, I think their defense is good, but I think that Jordan Love is still – he's not in this elite tier like people maybe were jumping him to be.
That front seven that the Browns have is nasty. I mean, they get into the backfield. Jacobs was bottled up. He didn't do anything in this game. They did the same thing with Henry last week. Different sort of running styles when you bring in a Gibbs, but – yeah, I guess concern's not the right word, but that's definitely a group you got to take seriously from this point forward. Jets, Bucks.
Blocked field goal.
Blocked field goal. That's all. Yeah, that's all I got to say.
Bucks comeback win like they have every game this year.
I did write this down. Mbuka and Evans also submitting themselves as one of the scariest wide receiver duos
Evans
in the
gets
NFL.
Injured, though, in the game.
And I'm not even sure which one's better. Mbuka's crazy.
He's really good.
Saints Seahawks, I got actually nothing.
Yeah, no one cares.
Blowout
immediately, too.
21-0 in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Cowboys, Bears. Bears look alive again. I think that might have been the best game of Caleb's career, but it's also against the Dallas defense.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I'm not taking anything into consideration as far as my long-term outlook for the Bears. To me, it's more of a, wow, this Cowboys team I thought might be a sneaky playoff team truly just will not be able to stop any offense in the league.
It looked like the 2023
CeeDee
Heisman
Lamb
version
gets
of
hurt.
Caleb, though. I will
Hopefully
say
he'll
that.
be fine.
Cardinals at 49ers. My biggest takeaway is, I'm just all good on Kyler Murray. And I feel like I've done this once a year for the last 3 years. He just can't get into a rhythm. He's too erratic. I don't think I've ever seen him make 5 great passes in a row. He just can't stay out of his own way.
Yeah.
He's Mr. Jitterbug back there. Just starts running around when he gets lost.
Major Kyle Shanahan blunder in this game on 4th and goal. Mac Jones clearly injured, like totally twisted his knee, and they don't give it to McCaffrey. They just try to do a screen play, basically, where Jones has no time to even avoid the pressure. Bad stuff. The late game safety as well. Just what a terrible mistake from the Niners O-line, and yet somehow they win this game. Somehow I also hit Cardinals plus 2.5, which felt like the worst pick of all time.
I think I feel worse about both
out.
of these teams after this game.
Yeah, the Niners aren't that good. No.
All right, there it is. That's around the league. Oh, I guess Chiefs, Giants, Chiefs back. Second half, they looked great.
Chiefs back, huh? I got more on that.
Really? For stocks? All right, let's do that when we come back. It's the Ben Bosscher Show, live right here on 100.9 The Mid. It's officially golf season. Well, it's been golf season, and it's still not over. We've even got the Ryder Cup this weekend. And if you're like me, you're looking for new places to play, golfers don't look any further. Apple Mountain in Freeland, where every round comes with a side of scenic perfection. Championship-level course, beautifully maintained, and just the right mix of challenge and fun. And when you've wrapped up 18, head to the Apple Mountain Restaurant, the perfect place for casual elegance and spectacular views. Whether you're playing for score or just soaking up the atmosphere, Apple Mountain is your place to unwind, recharge, and enjoy the game. Apple Mountain in Freeland, minutes away but miles from ordinary.
The Ben Bosscher Show, built by Bresky Siding and Building Repair on 100.9 The Mid.
I'm not leaving.
The stock market.
The show goes on.
All right. What are you buying? What are you selling? You had you alluded to something with the Chiefs game last night. So
yeah,
go ahead.
Look, I'm selling my Chiefs stock. I still think this is a good time to do it now that they won a game. I think some people are thinking, oh, the Chiefs are back, right? The Chiefs are so back. They're not, man. They played really bad against the Giants. That Giants offense was in shambles. But the Chiefs offense is just gross, man. God, their offense is just – I mean, this was a Cowboys team that put up 40 on New York last night. Or a week ago, and the Chiefs were just struggling against them all game long. Tyquan Thornton has to make some crazy catch for them to look any good. I'm out on the Chiefs, man.
Scored a touchdown on 2 of their 4 drives in the second half.
Oh, good for them, dude. I don't think they're very good.
I'll buy Chiefs stock.
I straight up don't think this team is very good.
Counter. They have Patrick Mahomes. They're going to figure things out. They're going to be all right. They're going to win games. Even though he didn't look all that great yesterday either.
I don't think they're a playoff team, man. I really don't. I really don't.
You know who else might not be a playoff team? Those Detroit Tigers. It's not been a great look for them. Let's get back to the Tigers and your thoughts on them when we come back. It's the Ben Bosscher Show live on 100.9 The Mitt.
The Ben Bosscher Show, built by Bresky Siding and Building Repair on 100.9 The Mitt.
From the Blazy Electric Studios, this is Sports Radio 100.9 The Mitt, WLUN, Pinconning Bay City, Saginaw, Midland.
All right, I told you we'd circle back to the Tigers eventually because this is one of the worst collapses in MLB history. Actually, it's not one of the worst. It is actually the worst collapse in MLB history. For those of you who are just joining us and didn't get to catch the Open, well, first of all, if you go to YouTube, subscribe, you can go back and rewind and listen to the Open. We're going to rehash it right now anyway. Or you can do it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Like, subscribe, give us a 5-star or a 1 if you don't like us very much. But if you missed it, here's the stat. 98% chance to win the division. That was a week ago today. Right now, it's down to 62% chance to win the division. It may as well be 50-50. It's going to come down to this series against Cleveland this week. You have a 1-game lead right now, the Tigers do. If they take 2 of 3 and end up 2 games, that would be up 3 games in the division with 3 to go, you're good. You're gonna be good. Just beat Boston once, and you clinch the division. If you lose 2 of 3, and suddenly you are down a game in the division, well, then you don't even control your own destiny anymore. And the Guardians are playing a Texas team that probably has nothing to play for by the time that series starts on, would that be Thursday? No, that'd be Friday. So this is going to come down to the next 3 games. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I think we'll have a pretty good idea of who's going to be winning the AL Central. They haven't won a division in 10 years. It looked like it was all but guaranteed, and now they're not even guaranteed a playoff spot. And you said last week, we both said this, very unlikely they miss out on the playoffs. They'd have to quite literally not win another game. Well, they're kind of on the verge of doing that. They've lost 6 straight. They've lost 9 of their last 10. There's no reason for me to sit here and say, well, they're going to win eventually, right? Because they are just not. It feels like they're incapable of winning games right now. That game on Saturday, I mean, how did they lose that game, Kyle? How did they lose that game?
I don't know how they lost that game because you and I were both at the Central Michigan football game, so I'm keeping up with the score, right? And I'm like, I'm kind of like, not watching it, but I'm just keeping up. And I see it's 5-3, and I'm like, whew, okay.
Yeah, Zach McKinstry homers.
They got this,
Torkelson homers. He's got the team on his back, back-to-back days with a home run. He's got 31 now.
Finally, they can close this thing out. Like, they can just end this streak, and then I'm not able to check the score for probably, 20, 30 minutes. And I log back on, and they lost. And I was like, what? So I obviously went and re-watched everything, but oh man, it was just, and to see that Cleveland obviously on Saturday sweeps their doubleheader. Thankfully they lost yesterday. Look,
otherwise it'd be tied and we wouldn't be in first place.
The good news is, which maybe this is bad news actually because of the way they've been playing, they still control their own destiny. They still don't need this team to do this, and this team's got to lose to this team, but that one's got to, it's not all these finicky things like last year where they not only needed to win, but they needed other things to happen. No, all you got to do is win still. So that's a positive. Now, maybe it's a negative because one thing that this team can't do currently is win.
Yeah, it's kind of essential to wrapping this thing up.
Right. That's kind of like the one thing you got to do here. So, look, if you win the game tomorrow with the Tarek Skubal start, which, once again, I'm not guaranteeing that, but if we're going to win any of the games, you would think it would be that one. Then you're up 2 games in the division with just 2 to go against Cleveland and then 3 against Boston to finish the year. In that scenario, you essentially control everything. Now, if you lose the first game, then all of a sudden no one feels good. You probably lost the division. You probably missed playoffs.
It's over. If they don't win tomorrow, it is over.
I mean, it's technically not, but I get what you're saying.
You can't lose back-to-back Skubal starts to the same team.
Yes.
And by the way,
look who's on the mound for them, man. Gavin Williams killed us last week.
And Tigers, by the way, it used to be an automatic win when Tarek Skubal was on the mound. They are 7-5 in their last 12 games with Skubal on the mound. It's not been a guaranteed win for the better part of the last 2.5 months. 989-837-6125. Jeff from Midland says Scott Harris is to blame. Picked up no one meaningful at the deadline. Well, that's only half true. Kyle Finnegan was a good addition. Like that we can't.
An elite addition, yeah.
An elite addition.
Yeah.
Better than Vest. Vest's opponents are hitting over 400 against him in September. He blew the game on Tuesday, and then he blew the game, what was that, Friday when he came in and just stunk it up again? Oh, yeah, that was Saturday, the game we were just talking about. So twice in this 6-game losing streak that the Tigers are on, Vest has come in and has just ruined the game. Ruined it. But I do think Harris is to blame here. Kyle's kind of opposite of that. He's saying, hey, these are the players that are doing it.
I don't want to say he's not to blame at all. But, I just feel like what we've seen in the last 2 weeks is clearly on the players and not on Scott Harris for not adding someone a year ago.
Do you think they would have been better off if they just made 0 moves at this year's deadline?
That's a good question. No, I don't think so. And I know that maybe the easy argument here is, well, yeah, they would have been because they wouldn't have had Charlie Morton and Chris Paddock. But like, what was the alternative? You know, who would be starting?
Bullpen days.
Well, with
pitching
our
by
terrible
chaos.
bullpen, the bullpen that's been terrible, other than Kyle Finnegan, the guy they got. Like, if they wouldn't have had him, then we have Will Vest, blowing all these games.
I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not like maybe they are, maybe they weren't. But those two guys, I mean, that's going to be the detriment of the second half of the season.
Yeah.
2 of the guys in the starting rotation were god awful. Other than each of their first starts, like Charlie Morton had a nice first start.
Yeah.
Chris Paddock had a nice good first start. Charlie Morton got sent away this weekend, so they were like, "You're done. We can't throw you out there anymore." After what was that, Friday night where he got lit up?
Yeah, and then they bring up Tanner Rainey, and
got lit up as well.
He walks 2, gives up 3 runs, and doesn't even pick up an out in yesterday's game. So that's an awesome replacement.
And Chris Paddock has a 7 ERA out of the pen since he's been moved there. So it's been a really tough. When we go back and look at the 2025 trade deadline, it's going to be detrimental, like to Scott Harris's resume.
Yeah. I'm interested to see if there's any Tigers fans out there, or just people in general, that are maybe taking the stance of this has to turn around, right? Or is this just how the season ends? Is this just the way that this is going to end? Because obviously we know how up and down at least the streaks have been for the Tigers this season. But one thing's for sure is that they've shown they can get out of a slumpy streak. They did that in the middle of the season. But is there enough time for them to get out of this one is basically what I'm asking. Are they going to be able to get out of this and maybe turn things around and all of a sudden there's a spark? Or is this just how it ends? Is this streak go all the way to the end of the year and it's over?
I saw a little TikTok edit. I don't know how people make these edits, whether it's AI or people actually doing it. This happened in 2006 when they went to the World Series. They blew the division and had a really bad last month and a half of the season. Now, they didn't lose like 9 of 10 games to close the season and have the biggest collapse in MLB history, but they did have a bad month, ended up losing in the division, go on to the World Series. Is that possible with the Tigers? I'm going to say no. Because right now, Kyle, who's the 4th starter? Who's the 4th starter in this rotation if the playoffs started tomorrow? There isn't. It'd be like Keider Montero, or it'd be bullpen days, or just be Troy Melton.
They would do bullpen day for sure.
Not a good situation to be in. This one is from Noah. Says, the Tigers have lost all my attention. I was super optimistic after the All-Star break, but now I don't even care. Yes, I'd love them to make the playoffs, but at this point, they aren't even playing like they want it, so why should I care? That's about
a good point.
That's about as what's the opposite of a compliment?
A diss?
A diss? That's about the biggest diss you can give a team. Like, they don't look like they care, so why should I? Damn. It's tough. 989-837-6125. Need to get some more people's thoughts on this Detroit Tigers implosion here down the stretch. Before we get back to that, we're going to talk to Nick Mehta from Baltimore Beatdown to get a little preview from this matchup here. Monday Night Football, Jared Goff, Lamar Jackson, the Ravens, and the Lions, 8 o'clock tonight. You can also listen to it right here on Westwood One on 100.9 The Mitt. We'll talk to Nick when we come back. It's the Ben Bosscher Show, live right here on 100.9 The Mitt. The 11 o'clock hour, as always, is brought to you by Yider Insurance. Life happens fast, and at Yider Insurance Group, they're here to make sure you're covered every step of the way. Locally owned and trusted in Midland for decades, they treat you like family, not just another policy number. From home and auto to business and life insurance, Yider has the right coverage for everyone and every stage of life. Their team makes insurance simple. With expert advice and real people you can actually talk to, it's Yider Insurance Group. We'll be there for you when you need us since 1940. It's the Ben Bosscher Show, live right here on 100.9 The Mitt.
The Ben Bosscher Show, built by Bresky Siding and Building Repair on 100.9 The Mitt.
Johnson and the Huge Show. This is where real fans stay locked in. 100.9 The Mitt.
The Ben Bosscher Show, built by Bresky Siding and Building Repair on 100.9 The Mitt.
All right, we're now joined by Nick Mehta, managing editor for BaltimoreBeatdown.com. Nick, thanks for taking the time to join us today.
Well-run organizations, always thrilling when these two meet up.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. So Lamar Jackson's pass protection the first 2 weeks of the season, I think it's been 16 pressures. That's PFF, 27th PFF pass blocking grade, 5 sacks so far. He's pacing for the most of his career. That's obviously through 2 weeks, so small sample size. And when you have the escapability that Lamar Jackson has, it's always going to be pretty easy to throw that out the window and say it doesn't really matter. But why has the offensive line not been able to hold up in the pass protection throughout the first 2 weeks of the season comparing to the last few years?
Yeah, I think, one of the things that obviously is really big with Lamar is he can get by with okay protection. Most quarterbacks need good protection. His elusiveness allows him to get by with decent to below average pass protection. The Ravens have been struggling kind of on two fronts in the pass protection game. The first has just been on the right side with Roger Rosengarten and Daniel Fa'alele. They're just simply put the weak links of the offensive line. They're just not as talented as Ronnie Stanley and Tyler Linderbaum, 2 Pro Bowl caliber players. So it's not a huge insult to those guys, but they have struggled through the first few weeks. Fa'alele has been actually quite, I thought, okay in pass blocking. Really, it's been Rosengarten that's more concerned me off the right side. Even Linderbaum in the middle in the pass game, he's been very good as a run blocker, but Linderbaum hasn't been as good in the pass game. Because he is smaller, he does struggle with the bull rush of those bigger defensive tackles, and he just hasn't been able to out leverage pass rushers the way that he normally does. The other thing that the Ravens are kind of still working on, and this has shown up already this season, is giving Lamar Jackson more opportunities to make protection adjustments at the line of scrimmage. This was something that they were really effective in against the Browns. Basically, Jackson would look up from the line of scrimmage, identify where Myles Garrett is, and slide help, double team him, do whatever he did to stop Myles Garrett from coming after him. And that's been a new tool in his toolbox over the past year or so that I felt was really effective against the Browns in slowing down Myles Garrett, because otherwise, even Ronnie Stanley one-on-one was having trouble with Myles Garrett. So if you let that go on all game, you're going to have a really, really long day.
So do you think we see something similar with Aiden Hutchinson tonight of basically saying, hey, let's just take this guy out of the game and we don't really believe anybody else on this Lions defensive front can do any damage here?
100%, especially with Marcus Davenport out, right? The Lions' ed depth is not really that strong in terms of the proven depth. Even Hassanian is out until later in the season. And so what they're going to do is I expect Hutchinson to move around, and I expect the Ravens to let Ronnie Stanley try and handle him on his own. But when he's matched up against Roger Rosengarten, they are going to have a tight end chip him off the line of scrimmage. They're going to double team him. That's going to be pretty frequent because they do have the benefit of knowing, okay, this is the one guy on the other team who can completely wreck our game. And Jackson, under Greg Roman, didn't quite have this much freedom to take control of the line of scrimmage. And so he was relying more on reading blitzes and going to his hots instead of adjusting his protection, giving himself enough time, and actually punishing other opposing defenses down the field when they try to blitz him.
So one of the things that we've been highlighting throughout the show is the strength-on-strength matchup between Lamar Jackson and this Lions defense. Not that the Lions defense has been a strength, but specifically the fact that they cause a ton of turnovers. Obviously, Kirby Joseph last year led the league in interceptions. Already has one this year. Brian Branch has a forced fumble this season. He's been one of the better safeties in the NFL. I think it's him and Kyle Hamilton kind of levitating above everybody else right now, ironically. So 2 great safeties in tonight's matchup. This Lions defense, they're aggressive. They give up a ton of yards, but they're trying to force the quarterback to make a ton of turnovers. They blitz more than anybody, at least last year they did, other than the Minnesota Vikings. This year it's been a little bit less, but I kind of expect them to bring that level of intensity back to the field tonight. And you're going up against this quarterback who, at least last season, just solved every issue when it came to putting the ball in harm's way. He was number 1 in the NFL in turnover-worthy play percentage. And when I say number 1, I mean the lowest turnover-worthy play percentage in the NFL. He had 41 touchdowns to just 4 interceptions last year. So how do you see this chess match kind of playing out here between this Lions defense that, gives up the yards but wants to create the turnovers versus this offense that's been so good and not turning the ball over for a year?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Lamar Jackson viscerally hates turning the ball over. And so in a way, I felt earlier in his career, he was a little bit too cautious with his willingness to push the ball down the field. But he has slowly become bolder and bolder, especially as he's become more confident in his receivers. And so I think that is one of the big differences that you really see in Lamar Jackson's turnover avoidance in the past versus now. In the past, he just wasn't taking as many shots deep down the field and wasn't giving safeties those chances. Or even opposing cornerbacks. Now with Rashad Bateman and DeAndre Hopkins, he's much more willing to take those shots. However, he still typically takes those shots one-on-one. That's what he's done so far this year. And so that's kind of his goal is if he's going to take a deep shot downfield, he wants it to be in a one-on-one matchup so that either the safety is in man coverage and has to run with the receiver, or the cornerback is one-on-one and the safety can't come over and break up the play. So that is something he's very careful about, is not throwing into double coverage, especially when you have 2 safeties roaming the field. Of course, if the Lions decide that they don't want to let Jackson take the top off their defense, it could be a very dink and dunk game, which is not necessarily his strength. He can work the ball down the field. He's obviously accurate on the underneath passes, but that kind of rhythm, very quick passing game isn't necessarily one of his bigger strengths. And so the other thing that I would do to try and disrupt Lamar and get him to turn the ball over would be actually trying to aggressively run blitz and target him on read options and see if you can target that mesh point. Because a lot of times defenders are waiting to play the read option, and then as a result, when they wait to play the read option instead of attacking, it makes it too easy to blow right by them. But it would be actually interesting to see some teams try to attack that mesh point because Lamar does have an unfortunate tendency to let go of the football. It's happened several times. It happens in some big moments. And so teams, I think, sometimes are scared of his abilities, but the Lions are one that won't be.
This Lamar Jackson stat versus the NFC teams, I mean, obviously you know about it. I think our audience knows about it. We've mentioned it a couple times throughout the show. But just to recap it, 24-2 versus the NFC. And my theory behind that is you just can't replicate what he does in practice. And when you only see a guy every 4 years or so, it's pretty shocking the first time you end up seeing Lamar Jackson onto the field. I think the Lions, specifically with that butt kicking they took a few years back, are definitely going to be a little bit more prepared for it this time. They end up signing Malik Cunningham basically to just be their practice squad quarterback this week, which I thought, it's a tiny move at the end of the day, but it's like, hey, you're doing something to try to prepare for this guy, because obviously Kyle Allen, who's the Lions' backup, is incapable of doing anything Lamar Jackson does on the practice field. So I think there are some advantages that the Lions have. Look, there's a reason the Ravens are favored by 5.5, but you know how Dan Campbell likes to operate. Like, he's got revenge on his mind. They're trying to hype up their guys in a game that they know they got their butts kicked a couple of years back. That's been something that the Lions players, the Lions coaching staff have all talked about in their media sessions this week, in addition to, hey, it all starts and ends with Lamar Jackson. What have the Ravens coaching staff guys and the players been talking about with this Lions team and stuff they have to do in order to shut down this Lions offense?
I think the first 2 weeks, of the Ravens season were kind of very two ends of the spectrum defensively, right? They could not do anything to stop the Bills in week 1, and then they really, really did a great job against the Browns in week 2. And so the defense, and this isn't meant as an insult to Detroit or the Lions or anything like that, but the Ravens kind of put these NFC matchups in a different bucket where they think we just have to go out, take care of business, and be done. Because they're not worried about tiebreakers. It's not divisional games. And like you said, their record against the NFC with Lamar is so good. And I think you're exactly right in the sense that it is not, it's not something that you're not prepared for, even when you have a Malik Cunningham in there. I have noticed it doesn't always feel like the Ravens have been talking. There isn't a ton of talk in these NFC matchups because they're not rivals. And so, a lot of what I've seen from the team this week has been more schematic. One of the things that I think has been pointed out multiple times is Marlon Humphrey and Amon-Ra St. Brown in the slot is going to be a big matchup. And it's interesting when both teams kind of identify something as a big matchup going into the week, and so then you really expect to see the fireworks. They have also talked about the running backs. They have also talked about David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, and with the loss of Nnamdi Madubuike in the middle of the Ravens defense, much of the impact has been on the pass rush, or much of the focus of that has been the pass rush impact. Madubuike is also an excellent run defender against a Lions team that is at its best when it is very balanced. And so Roquan Smith talked about, and this is one of the Ravens mentalities, right? They want to take away the run to force other teams into long passing situations, second and third and longs. The Lions live in the opposite of that. They want to get into short yardage. They want to get aggressive. They want to go 10 yards in 4 plays. And that's kind of the opposite ethos of what the Ravens is trying to do. They're really not trying to get, pushed down the field like that. They're trying to get aggressive themselves. And so I think that this matchup between the two teams, even though it is that interconference and they're not super familiar, they're very familiar with playing. Both teams are familiar with playing good teams, and they know the kind of football that you have to play to win this game.
Kyle Van Noy out for tonight's game with a hamstring injury. That's someone the Lions know pretty well, these fans. Second-round pick for the Lions about a decade ago. 2 sacks in 2.5 years with Detroit, and then ended up having 12.5 sacks last year with Baltimore. He's turned himself into one of the better pass rushers in the NFL. What kind of impact does that have to the defense with him not being there this week?
Yeah, I think the thing with Van Noy is not just, he's veteran, savvy pass rusher, really good at using leverage and kind of sliding around offensive linemen. He's never like bowling anyone over or throwing any really big moves at him. He's just smart, and he's just wily and slippery. The other thing about Van Noy is, though, that he's versatile, right? The Lions know this. He's been used at pretty much every linebacker spot in his career. He's lined up off the ball plenty. He's comfortable dropping into coverage. He's really comfortable executing stunts and twists. Like I said, him being a veteran, he's just such a smart player that the Ravens can ask a little bit more of him in terms of the complexity of the assignments. And so, that means as a result, they don't have necessarily a true Sam edge rusher who can rush the passer, but also drop off into coverage comfortably. They don't necessarily have someone who's as comfortable flipping inside or being active on stunts and twists against the Lions' interior O-line. And I think the other thing is just that he's a leader. He is a leader on the field. He's a leader of the defensive line, which is a younger unit in general. The edge room is very young. He's definitely the leader of that room. And so I think losing that in a big game is always tough. Now, the Ravens are really excited about Mike Green. That's probably the bigger name that's known in their edge room. Projected first-round pick, fell into the second round, flashed, at various times during the preseason. And even in the first 2 games, and teams are really hoping, the Ravens are really hoping that he's going to get opportunities to pin his ear back and go after Jared Goff tonight. But the best kept secret of Baltimore is Tavius Robinson, the third-year outside linebacker. He's an excellent run defender. He is going to be so crucial to stopping the Lions' run game tonight and early downs. And the Lions like to pass on early downs too. And so that means that Tavius Robinson, who's a little bit more of a run defender, but he had the strip sack on Joe Flacco last week, he'll get some early down opportunities to get after Goff. And I think it'll be interesting to see what he can do. Especially, and you guys may know better than I do, especially with Taylor Decker, his status being questionable, especially with that did not practice on Saturday. I guess to you guys, do you see that as the Lions giving him an extra day of rest, or do you think there's a legit chance he doesn't go tonight?
I'd be pretty shocked if he didn't play. This seems to be what they're just doing with Taylor Decker this season. They did it a lot with Frank Ragnow last year of just like, hey man, we know you're going through it. He dealt with some shoulder stuff in training camp. This is basically what they did the first 2 weeks of the season, where it's like, yeah, you get Wednesday off, you'll practice Thursday. Although last week against the Bears, I don't think he practiced Wednesday or Thursday, but this seems to just be what they're doing with Taylor Decker. I'd be pretty shocked if he didn't end up playing today. And if he doesn't play, I'll tell you this, Baltimore's going to win because their third string guy is Giovanni Manu. He was a 4th-round pick. It's my least favorite pick Brad Holmes has ever made. He's
Might
never,
be Ben's least favorite human being, honestly.
That's not too far of a stretch. He just doesn't belong on an NFL field, and he never has been on an NFL field other than preseason, where he was the worst offensive lineman graded out on PFF of everybody that played for the Lions. So I anticipate Taylor Decker is going to play. So I am interested in that matchup, though, because I think the Lions fans would be the first to tell you Taylor Decker's not the same guy he was a couple of years ago. He has dealt with some it's not even just an injury thing, but like when he goes up against these younger athletic edge rushers, he's just struggled in years past. Like, I mean, Micah Parsons is taking his lunch money, but he does that. He does that to everybody. But a lot of these younger guys have had a lot of success against Taylor Decker. So that's a matchup I'll be definitely looking at tonight. What have the Ravens fans' first impressions been on Jair Alexander, a guy Lions fans are very familiar with?
Yeah, I mean, the impressions in training camp were great. You know, he was a lot of fun on the field, on the sidelines, during drills. And then, of course, that first game against the Bills, he just really struggled. What it looked like to me is a player who has made a career out of gambling and using his athleticism to gamble on interceptions. Came back from several years of knee injuries and just seems like he's not exactly sure where he is athletically. It almost seemed like in the Buffalo game, he thought he could make up more ground than he really was able to. And so he read the ball fine, but he was just too slow physically and couldn't move as fast as he thought he could and wasn't able to make up the ground. And so that's kind of my little suspicion about the Bills game and Alexander. And so I'm glad that the Ravens are taking their time to get him right. You know, he won't play maybe for another week or two, just because I think the Ravens have kind of gone back and forth on this over the years. They've occasionally played it cautious and occasionally played it rushed a guy back. I think they're slowly learning it's often best to just play it cautious, especially with a guy coming off of, multiple major knee injuries.
What about the guy opposite of Jair, Nate Wiggins? That's a guy who the Lions passed on. They decided to take Terrion Arnold instead in that first round. And I'm not in the Lions camp. This is the majority opinion out here, that Terrion Arnold is somewhat of a bust, and I think it's kind of crazy to call a guy a bust, 19 games into his career or 18 games into his career. But he has struggled. I think that's more of a scheme-based thing because the Lions ask these corners to basically stay on islands and run as more man coverage than anybody else in the NFL. So you're just bound to give up yards. Terrion Arnold leads the NFL in yards allowed through 2 weeks of the season. So Lions fans have had their problems with Terrion Arnold. I think it's more of a scheme-based thing, but a guy they passed on, Nate Wiggins, how has he held up in his first season and 2 games?
I thought he was okay against the Bills. He definitely wasn't the worst part of that Bills defense. He definitely could have played better. But he had such a great game against the Browns. The interception was something the Ravens were really hoping that he'd be able to, open the tap of his turnover making ability this year. And he brought an interception against Joe Flacco. He also, I was maybe even more impressed by a play where he was sitting in the flat and just triggered on a swing. I don't know if it was to the tight end or to the running back, but he's a skinny guy. And he triggered and he made a really physical tackle. One emphasis that he had this offseason was to put on some weight, add some muscle to what is otherwise a pretty wiry and thin frame. And because last year he would always have to go in and take out guys' legs, he have to go with these shoulder tackles. Obviously, it's risky doing that, not just in terms of injury, but also in terms of missing the tackle. And so the tackle that he made on Tuesday was like teach tape in terms of a cornerback collapsing down into the flat. And again, for a guy his size, like that's a good step the Ravens want to see. In terms of coverage, I think the Ravens think he has the potential to be a number one cornerback that shadows an opposing team's number one wide receiver. But one, they're not sure he's there yet. And two, it's just that's way out of their defensive scheme. They like having their cornerbacks on one side or the other, and have really only changed that to follow opposing wide receiver ones in extreme circumstances. And because St. Brown operates so much out of the slot, it would make sense to have Wiggins follow him in this case anyway. But Wiggins, I think that the Ravens are hoping that he just continues to take steps in terms of his playmaking. They think that he looked really solid on coverage last year. I think he didn't allow a touchdown in the regular season or until the very end of the regular season. And so, I think the big matchup in this game is between Nate Wiggins is going to be with Jamison Williams, because those two guys are, two of the fastest guys in the NFL. They're absolute burners. And to me, it doesn't just mean that, it's a before the catch, can you beat him straight down the field thing? It's also a question of, can Wiggins use that physicality and muscle that he's added to, bring down JMO at the catch point right after the catch instead of letting him slip free? Because what I've seen with Jamison Williams so often is he shakes whoever's guarding him at the catch point, makes a quick move after the catch, and then he's so fast, he's so far away from the rest of the defense that he just runs away from everyone. It's really on whoever's matching up with him to at least grab onto him, do something, when he catches the ball instead of letting him slip away. And I think that's going to be, Wiggins is going to have a big job doing that on tonight.
Yeah, I'm curious with that matchup, and I'm curious with the Terrion Arnold versus DeAndre Hopkins matchup as well, just because those are two bigger guys for their respective positions, physicality. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think DeAndre Hopkins has had great separation necessarily. He's just come up with these awesome catches through the first 2 weeks of the season, which I'm sure it's been a pleasant surprise from the Ravens fans. But I don't think Terrion Arnold's getting. He does it's the precision route guys that end up getting him. He's usually when he has an opportunity to make the play and doesn't get, cooked out of his shoes, he usually does come up and make the play. So I'm curious with that matchup. All right, last thing I got for you. How did the Browns manage to stop Derrick Henry? Because he does get bottled up. You look at the score and it's the Ravens absolutely killed the Browns. You pull up the box score. It's wait a minute. Derrick Henry almost did nothing in this game with 11 carries. So how were the Browns able to do that? And how can maybe the Lions replicate that as well?
Yeah, this is quietly one of my favorite parts about the Browns game is how well they played Derrick Henry. If you remember, leading up to the Browns game, the Cleveland locker room was talking a lot of trash about the Ravens, about Derrick Henry specifically, and saying how they were going to shut him down and they weren't afraid of him and all those kind of things, which I think is a crazy thing to say to Derrick Henry. But it also, to me, tipped the Ravens to what the Browns were going to do. The Browns had decided they weren't going to let Henry stop them, so they stacked the line of scrimmage. And then they left their cornerbacks one-on-one. And when that's Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome, usually you're going to do pretty okay, especially with Ward. But their slot cornerback, Miles Harden, couldn't cover anything. Hasn't been able to cover anything all season. And the Ravens target him with Zay Flowers. And then when Denzel Ward went out, the Browns brought in Cameron Mitchell, and the Ravens started targeting him with DeAndre Hopkins. And it was pretty much over from there because the Ravens just threw it over their heads. So in a way, the Browns have a great defensive front, and they did a good job, both coaching and just execution in terms of stopping Derrick Henry. But they sold out to back up their trash talk from earlier in the week and let Lamar Jackson throw the ball over their heads all game, especially in the second half. In the red zone, they'd get down and crowd 7 guys around the line of scrimmage, and he would just run these slot fades, these corner routes to Devontae Walker, DeAndre Hopkins, and that's how they scored 3 of their touchdowns. So, Henry's not going to mind being a sacrificial lamb once in a while if it means, a 40-point win over a division rival. No one's complaining about that, least of all Derrick Henry.
Yeah, the Lions prioritize more than anything with their defense. This is part of what I was saying about Terrion Arnold, how they ask him to basically be on an island. They love to blitz. They love to have these 3 linebacker sets. They do more than anybody else in the NFL, have that same linebacker out in the field instead of a nickel corner. So I do expect them to sell out and stop Derrick Henry as well and kind of replicate that Browns thing, because that's what they do anyway, whether Derrick Henry's across the field from them or not. All right, you got a score prediction for tonight's game? Because Kyle and I have been saying throughout the course of the show, this is going to be a shootout. It's going to be a high-scoring game. It's not going to be whether or not the Lions defense can get any stops. It's going to be, can they outscore the Ravens in Baltimore? So I'm thinking something along the lines of 38-35. Unfortunately, for our listeners up here, I probably got to go with Baltimore, but I do think this is going to be a shootout.
It's funny. I was thinking 38-35, and then I was thinking that the Ravens would attempt 2 field goals, and the Lions would not. And so I was thinking maybe 41-35 or something in that range, because Dan Campbell, and I respect him and I love him for this, is going to keep going for the 4th downs against the Ravens, knowing that he needs touchdowns, not field goals. And I think the Ravens might be willing to take a shot with Loop once or twice and try and get points out of every single one of their possessions. And that's how I think you win a shootout.
Has Loop been good first 2 weeks?
Loop has been okay. I think he missed an extra point against the Bills, which obviously felt like they lost 1 point. So there was a little bit of hay made out of that. But look, he's a rookie kicker. The Ravens fans for their lifetime have had Matt Stover, Billy Cundiff, a couple guys very briefly, and then Justin Tucker. So there is a sense that this fan base has been very spoiled by good kicking, and they have not dealt with what the rest of the league has dealt with in terms of stress when it comes to just a simple 45-yard field goal in several years. So, Loop has looked good, but the proof's going to be in the pudding. He's a rookie. He's young. He hasn't been under a big pressure kick yet. That moment could very well come tonight. Those big pressure kicks for the Ravens have a habit of coming against the Lions.
Nikhil Mehta, managing editor over at Baltimore Beatdown. I know we went a little longer than we had planned on, but enjoyed catching up. Enjoyed talking to you. Hopefully we can do that again sometime. Appreciate you coming
Thanks
on.
so much for having me, Ben. This was great.
There you go. All right, one more time you can read his stuff at BaltimoreBeatdown.com. This is the Ben Bosscher Show live right here on 100.9 The Mid.
The Ben Bosscher Show, built by Bresky Siding and Building Repair on 100.9 The Mid.
or reconnecting with what really matters is pure Michigan. Your trip begins at michigan.org.
The Ben Bosscher Show, built by Bresky Siding and Building Repair on 100.9 The Mid.
All right, it feels like the general consensus is this is going to be a shootout tonight. We've got this Lions offense that looked like juggernauts again last week going up against this Ravens team that's put up 40 back-to-back weeks. So I'll just simply ask you, Kyle, do you think the Lions are going to beat the Ravens tonight? Plain and simple question.
Oh, you're putting me on the spot here. I think they can beat the Ravens tonight.
That's not what I asked.
I don't think they will beat the Ravens tonight. That is
Neither do
I think a lot of things would have to go right. And I don't know if the Ravens have enough in them to do wrong, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's going to be there. They're going to have to make a mistake at some point.
And
I
also
unfortunately agree with you.
Yeah.
I hate doing this. It's not fun. I hope I'm wrong. I'd rather be wrong.
I want to be wrong. I want to be so wrong.
But if I'm just giving my pick on it, I've got Baltimore by 3 tonight.
Yeah.
They're just, I mean, going into the year, I said during our Tuesday Tower, or I don't know if I did during the Tuesday, I had them number 1 in the power rankings going into the season.
After they lost.
Yeah. Like this is a nasty team. And to be fair, I think that they have shown that they're not as much of world beaters on defense as we thought they were going to be. The offense it's going to be nasty. But you can get them on defense. I think J-Mo could have a big game.
I think the Lions are going to score a lot of points tonight. I would be really shocked if this was not at least one of the teams in the 30s tonight. I mean, the over-under's at 53.5 for a reason. That is an absurd total. And typically...
Well, my lock of the day wasn't the over, but I'm kind of talking myself into it.
Typically, when these overs are set really high, they actually usually go over because a lot of people will take the under because, 1, there'll be juice on it, and 2, it's just way too high.
I like the over tonight.
I also kind of like the over tonight.
But that is not my lock of the day.
Lock of the day.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
All right. My lock of the day is actually Jameson Williams over. What was it set at, Kyle?
What?
Is that what
I thought it was Zay Flowers.
Oh, let's do that too. Yeah. Yes. I do like Zay Flowers probably more than I like Jameson Williams tonight because you heard Nick say it when he came on, like they're going to torch the slot if you continue to run these 3 linebacker sets and sell out to stop the run, which the Lions do. They love selling out to stop the run, no matter who they're playing, specifically against this Baltimore team that runs the ball basically better than anyone in the league other than Philly, maybe Detroit. They're going to sell out to stop the run tonight, which means Zay Flowers is going to have some favorable matchups in the slot. So I like Zay Flowers. The Lions have struggled to stop anyone over the middle of the field so far this year.
And Zay has been really good to start this season.
Specifically over the middle of the field. So that is where I think you can make some money. I also like Jameson Williams over. I also like the over in the game.
He's got the locks of the day
tonight.
Today.
But the official lock of the day is going to be Zay Flowers over. What was the yardage?
64.5.
Yeah, that's easy.
Receiving yards, and he's minus 110 on the odds for that.
Taylor fade.
You know what? I can't go all negative Lions here. So I'm going to say they shut down Zay Flowers. I'm fading.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you got a play that you like other than those 3 I just named? Am I leaving something out?
I honestly do really like St. Brown to go off again tonight. I just think that in these high, scoring games, or at least the high offense line's going to be on the field a ton, going to be moving the ball down the field. We really see the Goff-St. Brown connection spark a lot here. So I like St. Brown to have a big game. I don't have a specific play, but I probably will bet either St. Brown tutty or St. Brown 80 yards, maybe something like that, or maybe just his receptions too. I definitely will do something Amon-Ra related tonight.
I'm all in the J-Mo props tonight. Yeah. I like the J-Mo props.
This is one of those games where it feels like you might as well make a crazy parlay for this game. Just with it being 2 high-scoring teams.
I don't know if I necessarily am don't bet on Laporta, but Roquan in the middle is definitely something to keep your mind on. I don't think I'm going to be taking Laporta props tonight, which is strange coming from me. I'm usually why is Laporta's prop only at 42 yards? And then it always hits because he's just consistently getting 10 fantasy points. Yeah. He's just a consistent, throw him into your starting lineup. You never have to think about it in fantasy. He's not like some crazy good asset.
5 for 50 usually. Scores a good amount of touchdowns. Hasn't yet this year, but.
Hasn't yet. He'll get on there. He'll score a touchdown eventually. All right. That is our first tradition to close out every single day. Thanks for our lock of the day.
Lock of the day.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
And before we get into our next lock of the day, I do have to remind you that here at Air Insurance Group, they understand not everyone's insurance needs are the exact same. They want to work personally with you to create something best suited for your needs, whether that's life or home or auto or physical insurance. It's all available with Farm Bureau Aired. The team's got over 100 years of combined experience. They know exactly how to put you in the best position possible. The experience matters, and that's why Aired Farm Bureau is the way to go. Our next tradition to open up every single show is guessing Colin Cowherd's open. What's he opening with today, Kyle? What's the score? Whose turn is it to go first? What's going on?
Okay, it's 16-14. I picked up a point on Friday. I've cut it down to 2, so it's 16-14. You're up. It is your pick today. I think the Monday picks are always really fun because there's just so many different things you could go with. I think there is 2 pretty obvious picks here, and I like one over the other, but I'm interested to see where you go.
It's my pick first?
Yes. Episode 79 today. Crickets.
Caleb.
Ooh, he does go with Caleb.
It's got to be Caleb.
Okay.
Best game of Caleb's career. No way he's not opening up with him.
See,
I kind of regret it already.
That was one of my 2 picks.
It's going to be.
I think he probably goes more Chiefs.
Yeah, it's going to be Kansas City, Andy Reid, and Travis Kelce yelling at each other. I already regret my pick. I already regret it.
When I said I think it's one of 2 things, those were the 2 things. But I was leaning more towards Chiefs because, one, it was the Sunday night game as well. They pick up their first win, but it was kind of sloppy. Everyone's giving Mahomes all this credit for the backwards pass thing. It's also just a bad play from him, too.
Collinsworth couldn't keep it under control.
I couldn't believe that play from Mahomes.
What a play. He's so smart. He threw the ball backwards.
Yeah, he also caused it to happen, So I don't know why there's so much praise for it. So funny.
Mike, look at what Mahomes just did. He made a mistake, and then he made up for it.
Well, and then nothing funnier, too, than when he did it earlier in the game. It was not even the first time he did it, and Pacheco picks the ball up and just spikes it into the ground. It was a live ball. That should have never been blown dead. But anyways.
There's not a lot of other quarterbacks in the NFL that would go make a play like that, Mike.
He saved a touchdown. Yeah, he also, caused it to happen.
Yes, that was I couldn't. God, I love Collinsworth, but, man, that was crazy.
Yeah, I definitely do. That will be my pick today is the Chiefs, Andy Reid, Kelce stuff. They won, so I think that maybe there's a little bit of, a non-panicky Chiefs lead. They'll be fine. The Caleb stuff was going to be my backup pick. I actually do think there is a sneaky, if I had to pick something to be third, I think there's a good, Chargers Jim Harbaugh.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's a lead in there because he loves talking Harbaugh.
He might be the best team in the AFC.
Didn't he call Harbaugh the best coach of all time or something like that?
Yeah, the best
week?
football coach of all time.
Yeah.
He said that last Wednesday.
And the Chargers look like one of the bigger threats in the league right now. So I think that definitely could be. That throw that Herbert had. I know we didn't really touch on that.
Oh, my God, dude.
Wait,
did we miss out on that game? How did we not say anything
I
about
think
that
we
game?
skipped. Did we skip it?
Yeah, we somehow skipped that game. That was one of the best games.
Yeah, it was one of the. It was the only good one on in the 4 o'clock slate too.
That was the best throw of Herbert's career. It was the best throw that happened yesterday. It might be the best throw that's happened through 3 weeks. It was, and for him to avoid the sack, that he's looking like the guy we all thought he could be after his rookie season. Finally,
look, man. But preseason, I said one of my favorite futures bets was Chargers to make the playoffs, Broncos to miss the playoffs. It's looking pretty solid right now.
That's looking really solid because not only are they 3-0, they have
all 3 division games,
wins already.
Weird way to start the season, by the way. Imagine if the Lions just opened up with. I know they've played 2 of the 3.
They almost did.
But what if they started off Green Bay, Minnesota, Chicago? That's just brutal.
If you go 3-0 in there, you're going to the playoffs.
You've won the division. Obviously they haven't, but it's just such an elite way to start the season. So yeah, and I got to say too, I'm loving this resurgence from Keenan Allen. I've always been a big fan of his.
He was the go-to guy yesterday down the stretch.
He's been the go-to guy all year, kind of. So that could potentially be a lead, but I will go with the Chiefs stuff. You got the Caleb Williams stuff.
Herbert MVP stuff also just kind of on the table. I'd say if they lead with Herbert, we just both get a point.
We just give ourselves a point?
Yeah, we just both get a point.
All right, sure. Why not?
All right. I've got 38 35 Ravens tonight. Unfortunately, we will recap the game tomorrow. Kyle, you got a final score?
Yeah, I mean, I have to kind of back my spread pick here and go a little bit higher than that. I will go 37-31. Baltimore barely covers.
37. It's not a score you see very often.
Yeah, you also don't see 16 or 15, whatever the Cardinals put up, too.
Well, that was the safety. Right. Safety will do that. All right. Appreciate everyone for tuning in today. We'll be back tomorrow to recap that. And a Monday Night Football game that you can listen to right here on Westwood One on 100.9. The Mitt. Tigers play tomorrow, too. So should be a fun week here on the Ben Bosscher Show. Talk to you guys tomorrow, 9 a.m. Subscribe on YouTube so you can get notified when we go live. See you guys tomorrow. Thank you for listening.
The Ben Bosscher